Warrior Lore. Chapter 436, Refining a War Puppet. Chapter 436, Refining a War Puppet. That devious region estate, and Lung Wuchang, that snake? Grandmother gnashed her teeth. Shuafan sighed. Grandmother need not say that. They're not that vile. It was me who betrayed you despite our ties. It is all on me. The only one you can take it out on is also me. A man has to do what a man must. I can take it. Oh, no, Steward Jua. I am not so unwise as to take it out on you. I could never blame you now that I know the source of our misfortune. Elder Shui is right. Anyone would have done it if it were them, including me. It is not within my right to judge you, Steward Jua. The more Juafan gave his head on a platter, the more he made grandmother feel bad. Riddling her with guilt and shame, she ended up cursing Regent Estate some more. That wretched and vile and degenerate Regent Estate wanted to incite discord among us. Lung Wuchang is even worse. I bet he came up with that despicable plan. He stands back while Regent Estate is put to work, forcing you into driving a wedge between us. Alas, I did fall for their ploy, doubting Luo clan and resulting in today's calamity. This is all my fault. Grandmother cried again. Juafan blinked whether Long Wuchang aimed for this when forcing him to get the Bodhi root. He didn't know. But one thing he was certain of, Regent Estate was packed with experts, while Drifting Flowers Edifice's women are impulsive, not to sound narcissistic, but the task of stealing their great treasure could and would only be done by yours truly. No one else had the skills nor the expertise to pull off such a heist, yet grandmother was here denouncing Regent Estate, and he couldn't agree more. Juafan patted her shoulder. Grandmother, now you know that it was all a trick. We must now stand more united than ever, to have nothing come between us again. Yes, Steward Jua, Drifting Flowers Edifices is now at its weakest, and we will do everything you ask of us, for vengeance and rebuilding Drifting Flowers Edifices. Grandmother nodded with conviction. Juafan did the same. You honor me with your deep sense of duty. I will never let you down. I noticed you were poisoned with the rainbow cloud palm. I will have someone give you the antidote. Thank you, Steward Jua. Grandmother bowed again, and the disciples helped her into the city. Juafan watched her go. Drifting Flowers Edifices. Every member passed by him with apologies at Peony Overseer's turn. She dodged his gaze and was no longer as fiery. Well, I'll be honest. Steward Jua, you sure know how to turn excuses into a high-class act. We could have just told them when we first met. Why drag it all out till now? I felt my ears explode hearing that Peony nag us on and on. With the coast clear, Shui Qingjian looked at him puzzled. Juafan sighed. These ladies have just experienced a change of heart. And supplied with, Elder Shui, do you know the difference between fetching and sending? Shui Qingjian shook her head. Haha, like they say, easy come easy go. When someone gives you something, you don't give it much value. If you had used the same excuse from the start, no matter how good, they still wouldn't believe you. Only through their constant inquiry, forcing me to say it, did they take it as truth. And another thing, these excuses cannot come out from me. It has to be from a third party. That's why, Elder Shui, thank you for your hard work along the way. Your ears must be in agony. Ha ha ha. Juafan laughed. Drifting Flowers Edifices are in ruins, and my helping hand will be seen as God sent. Now that all doubts are cleared as well, they will trust no one more than me. This trust will also affect the incoming houses as well, making the reform of the 3 houses a done deal. Elder Shui, Regent Estate must be gunning for Veil Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquis's abode now. Send them a word. Urge them to leave their homes and come to Luo clan. Homeless, they will only have us to rely on in the end. Yes, Steward Jua. Shui Qingjian cupped her hands, but paused. Steward Jua, what is Sir's age again? Why do you look more and more like a sly old fox? Human yet vile at the same time. You still got the 3 destitute houses moved to tears from your generosity. Ha ha ha, it's not me who made them homeless, but society. Juafan said. The signs of conflict and chaos have appeared, and I can't stop it. All I can do is stave off the anarchy at my gates. Elder Shui, you will learn in due time. What I have in store for them is for their own good. While I want them integrated and re-educated, everyone else would have them purged. Shui Qingjian just bobbed her clueless head. You're telling me it's common sense to thank the guy for wrecking your 1,000-year-old legacy? It makes total sense. The vile and deceitful steward Zhua sure acts quite a nobleman. Shui Qingjian didn't understand, and it wasn't like Shui Fan wanted her to. How is it going on Elder Chio's end? Per your orders, I escorted Drifting Flowers Edifice's disciples while the old guy is waiting for Regent Estate to vacate their city before they'll desecrate Drifting Flowers Edifice's ancestors and fetch you those bodies. Marvelous. Zhua Fan nodded, flying towards Blackwind Mountain, leaving a few more words. Elder Li and Elder Yin have gone to take care of Pilking Hall. Wait for Elder Chio to return, and you two can go deal with Mary Woods. Yes. Shui Qingjian bowed. Zhua Fan was back in the bunker, sending the Luo clan members and Yun clan people away, rows upon rows of pits lined up in his sight according to the Taiji diagram. Each pit held 2 bodies in the middle, with spirit stones all around them. One looked haggard, but desecrated, while the other was dried up and human-like, yet did not have the feel of one. The human pillars on either side of them were countless materials and a pair of spiritual beast wings. Besides this one, there were tens of thousands of pits just like it, but only a few pits had bodies in them petting the human pillar's head. Zhua Fan's eyes glinted. Around 10 years ago, I had Captain Pang train you, but you failed and turned cripple. I had Miss Lei teach you myriad breaths, while she called me a cruel monster knowing what it did. But I believe letting you live your lives as cripples was the ultimate cruelty. That's why I told her that even if you live a life worse than death, I'd still have use of you. That time has come. You won't be the strongest, but will reach your peak all based on your talent. You will make the Empire see that you are no cripples, but great warriors. Waves came from the human pillars, something Zhua Fan picked up on only after he made certain signs. What's with the can I move questions? Ha ha ha. You will do more than that, more than your wildest dreams. You will become the Luo clan's strongest guards, Luo clan's pride and honor. Another wave of ripples told Zhua Fan of their joy. He was no goody two-shoes and planned on refining war puppets, devastating weapons of war. He'd use those ancestors and refine them with countless materials to make them as tough as diamonds. As for the souls to operate them, that was where these loyal human pillars of the Luo clan came in, because they were dead to begin with. Even with the human pillars controlling them, they wouldn't be able to cultivate and were thus dubbed human weapons. It was the only way to describe a cultivator who hadn't achieved his potential, but they were more than enough for a weak empire like Tianyu due to material limitations. He planned to make 1,000 of them to start with while letting nature take its course with the rest of the human pillars. But thanks to Qinpeng's hefty endorsement, he hoped to provide these children, who sacrificed themselves for Luo clan's intelligence network, a body they could move in. It was the best reward for their dedication and devotion. 1,000 war puppets were tough enough to fight the imperial family. But by the looks of things, that number was quickly gaining 2 more zeros. He could go toe-to-toe with Dugu Zhantian's 3 million army. If this kept up, that was why he said that all of the emperor's planning had this as its single flaw. How long would he keep hold of his throne once this army showed up and fought back Dugu's army? Ha ha ha! Zhua Fan's eyes flashed with cruelty as he shouted, "Open the gates of the world and let the clouds simmer, bringing down the heavy dark rain of war, so that the souls of the ancients may trample down on this land once more." Rumble. The world itself was shaking as the sky blackened and lightning flickered. Ghastly black winds rose on Blackwind Mountain, kicking up a storm and swallowing everything. Windgaze City was on the verge of being swept up in it. Grandmother and the rest, having just found peace, were now panicking and were at a loss when the world experienced change. Someone was going against natural order, bringing about heavenly tribulation. Just what was about to happen that would bring about destruction upon the living? Chapter 437, Road Pass. Chapter 437, Road Pass. SSS. Lightning snaked all over the corpses as the materials and the wings shone. They liquefied and entered the body. Fusing together, it went just like what Zhua Fan had been through the first time, but way easier. Unlike the live refining he underwent, this time it was done on cold dead corpses, unfeeling and uncaring about some trifling stuff like a destroyed soul. So, Zhua Fan went big this time. 1,000 of them at the same time with the job done. The bodies had a metallic sheen to them. Zhua Fan made a sign. Change places and let the souls return. Bang! The human pillars exploded into a shower of blood and viscera. As the gruesome display splashed the ground with a sickening sound, it left behind faint flames of a spectral green glow. Zhuofan made another sign and the flames entered the corpses. The corpses rattled and their eyelids shivered. Zhuofan went through another sign and the corpses opened their mouths, while he sent a pill in, fuse, and let spirits assume their rightful place. Another sign and the rumbling continued constantly as the sky had a hole in it, spewing out a lightning shower. The mountains shook and Blackwind Mountain's arrays were close to crumbling wind-gazed cities. People paled, taking this unnatural phenomenon as the end of days coming to take everything they knew. Zhuofan shook with the earth, knowing this was heaven's way in showing its wrath. Tribulation, any items this world did not condone, incited the heavenly tribulation to have them all purged, disintegrated, to guard all living things from destruction, decreed by the world's Tao. Zhuofan, while refining war puppets, was doing just that, going against heaven and bringing down the fury of the world on his head, but he had put too much work in this for a puny, heavenly tribulation to come ruin it all. Since he was fully intent on refining the war puppets, he had a way to keep the war puppets alive, so to speak. The snap of his fingers echoed out. The 4 arrays started up and spewed out pitch-black mist all around Windgaze City. The black mist wiggled and spun, swallowing all lightning strikes, shroud the heaven's eye. The sun and the moon, 10th grade array, hidden shadow dragon. With a whistle, the black mist swept over the war puppets, covering them completely. When the black sea passed, Zhuofan saw a flat ground, with all the war puppets gone from the bunker and his sight. The rumbling in the heavens was on hold, having lost its target. The black clouds scattered, having nothing better to do. The land no longer shook and Windgaze City returned to normalcy. But what had just transpired had every one of its citizens filled with a bad feeling. Sighing, Zhuofan wiped his brow. Overjoyed, at least he had the foresight to use the new authority of the Luo house and mine his domain. Gathering the spirit stones needed to set the 10th grade array up, everything would have been wasted otherwise, with even his home base laid to ruins under heaven's tantrum. Heaven was quite generous, though. It would strike down with unbridled fury and unmatched force when anything foreign was taking shape. But we'll leave you be. Once it was done shaping up through the hidden shadow dragon, Zhuofan hid the war puppets until the fusing finished. Then he'd have nothing to worry about. The world shall soon follow, with 100,000 puppets sweeping the lands in every direction. Ahahaha. Zhuofan looked around the bunker one last time before leaving. Only the world's odd phenomenon had left a mark on its people, yet they had no way of unraveling the mystery. This event was the start of a quirky habit, happening every other month. With Zhuofan keeping mum about it, none was the wiser and everyone became more puzzled than ever. It was like the world's ant flow was doing its thing with no losses to worry about. No one bothered with it. This was how the next few months passed. Regent Estate used this time to lead its allies like an unstoppable flood towards Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquis's abode. Learning from Drifting Flowers' edifice's miserable ending, the two didn't resist and stuck to fleeing. Regent Estate's attack on the houses met hardly any resistance since the houses were long gone, taking less than a week to trample both of them. But unlike Drifting Flowers' edifices, these two houses hadn't suffered many losses, while the wretched Zhuofan was the real big baller, getting rich over this war. He robbed Pilking Hall and Marywood's Blind, Tombs included, but didn't forget to include his precious allies as viable targets for some relaxed desecration. It went like this. Once Regent Estate knocked itself out after attacking a house, his team would swing by for some quality digging. The true winner in all of this was Zhuofan by far, getting close to 100,000 powerful corpses with bone-tempering stage as the minimum. He had already refined tens of thousands of puppets, just that none of his allies were clued in on this little tidbit, following him like good little doggies and blaming it all on Regent Estate. It was safe to assume that a heavy war would break out if they found out who was behind all this. Up till now, the foundation of the 7 houses laid in rubble as 2 sides formed. All that remained was a cruel and hard war for supremacy. Blackwind Mountain's main hall was packed with leaders of every house. Zhuofan and Luo Yunhai represented Luo clan, taking the main seat, while the rest were their 3 allies. Zhuofan glanced over them. The imperial family is beset with inner and outer conflict, while the Regent Estate is running rampant across Tianyu. Both camps are at a breaking point. War is knocking, and we can't avoid it. Then we don't. We've suffered the past 1,000 years at their hands, and now they've even ruined our homes. Longju snorted. We didn't fall out all this time for the nation's sake. But now we have you as a brother, Luo clan, and together we can fight them. We have you to lead us, to destroy them. It is the only choice left to us. Yeah, we'll destroy them. The others echoed. The disciples of the houses present were all homeless, runaways in the truest sense and form. When they had nothing left to lose, why would they shirk from this? And with victory promising to restore their lands, they were all for it. War was the answer, and their thirst for it only grew. Fan put his trademark evil grin on. Perfect. He held his hand up for silence. Be assured, friends, we understand your plight. Our Luo clan's ancestral teaching is all about being righteous and moral to our neighbor. You've all helped us when we were at our lowest. We never forgot your great generosity. Now that you all are in difficulty, Luo clan will step forth and bring you justice. This is my declaration of war. We will fight them to the end. Oh! Fists were thrown into the air. Some sighed, praising Steward's loyalty and Luo clan's benevolence. Only Luo Yunhai turned somewhat pink, sweating buckets like every other Luo clan elder present. Granted, Luo clan's ancestral teaching was about righteousness, having heard Luo Yunhai and Luo Yunchang talk about it. But ever since Zhuo Fan took helm, that word was crossed out and written off from Luo clan's vocabulary, replaced with a better and truer aim. Like self-interest to start with, Zhuo Fan used it just now only as a tool, but selling it with his pretty speech and heartfelt act. Everyone was inspired, driven, and filled with thirst for battle, to the point of giving their life for it. Funny enough, if it were plain righteousness, they might not be so keen on going along with Zhuo Fan, but with him being so despicable and vile to throw in some incentives for everyone, they were all in. Like Zhuo Fan once said, in this world where the strong ate the weak, going by righteousness alone would get one into a sorry dump. Like the Luo clan when he found it. Understanding this, Luo Yunhai's eyes flashed and he rose. Everyone, as the clan head of the Luo clan, I will draft the declaration of war, to quell regent estate and give you all justice. With a dignified act and powerful voice, he drove an even stronger sense of camaraderie into their hearts. Zhuo Fan nodded inside. The kid grew up at last. Without darkness to back it up, light would be like dust in the wind. On the other side, Regent Estate already had its declaration of war ready, sending it to their final goal, Luo clan. The people cleared the room once the negotiations finished. Only Yu Ming stayed behind, and Lung Wucheng smiled. Sir Yu Ming, I heard you were close to the second prince. He trusts me completely. Yu Ming nodded. Then please return to his side. We and Zhuge Changfeng have an understanding in place, but when it comes to that old fox, we still need assurances and need to prepare a plan B. As we are about to go to war with Luo clan, there's nothing I would hate more than to have the imperial family stick its nose in it. Yu Ming squinted and grinned. Ha ha ha, you are just like Zhuo Fan. Pausing, Lung Wucheng looked at him. Ha ha, I see. So he gave you a road pass as well? Chapter 438, Chance. Chapter 438, Chance. Elite Coder. The declarations of war took wings, pasted across the streets of Tianyu, and drove horror into the hearts of its people. Regent Estate, by its imperial right, declared itself king. It would first rid the land of that traitor Zhuo Fan and Luo clan, vowing to purge the nation of its descendants. Bringing peace, Zhuo Fan accused Regent Estate of its degenerate actions, deceiving, plotting, and scheming in order to take the 7 noble houses for itself. Its crimes were beyond count. With the power invested in the Luo clan as the 8th noble house, they took upon themselves the duty of a ruler's loyal servant to rid the world of these heinous lowlifes, and to dispel the darkness. The average citizen looked more lost than ever. Tianyu was under Yuan clan's rule. Whoever marched in the name of the imperial family had righteousness by his side. The emperor had Zhuo Fan turn into a wanted man, and Regent Estate was tasked to remove him. Everyone knew that. But from Zhuo Fan's declaration, it looked as if Regent Estate had made the emperor come to the wrong conclusion through coercion and slander, sticking to the fact that loyal officials were usually framed by corrupt ones. Zhuo Fan claimed to be a bastion of loyalty. His wanted status was all due to Regent Estate's schemes, and playing the emperor for a fool, he wanted to remove the corruption and allow the emperor to think clearly. Hence the rise against Regent Estate Juefan looked to have enough reasons to do it as well. But what got the entire populace staring blankly was who was in the wrong and who was right. It ought to be the imperial family who'd clarify this point. Yet the sovereign was eerily quiet. It was the emperor who had issued a decree to have Juefan killed. But now he had turned a deaf ear. The great emperor feinted senility for argument's sake. If he did speak out, would he have the reason to attack them both later? It was better to let them slaughter each other, and then finish them off in due time. As for who was right and who was wrong, it all came down to the emperor's decision. No. The emperor's plan was ingenious, fooling the whole nation. But one thing they did know was that Luo clan and Regent Estate were mad about putting the other one down. The noble houses with their long-standing legacy were leveled in a short time, leaving only these two factions. These small-time clans couldn't mess with any of these big shots. It was a safer bet to wait for the winner to come out before hugging their leg. Even though this action carried a slightly reproachful tone, it was way better than making the wrong choice and ending up a corpse in the mud. The emperor was shrewd, but the clans weren't that dumb either to get swept up by the vortex. Who cares who's vile and who's playing nice? The victor has always been, and always will be, right? That old coot is playing deaf. You asked me to deal with Juefan, and now you won't even back me up? Rotten bastard. Huangpu Tianyuan raved. Long Wucheng smiled. Estate Lord. We knew this was coming. The imperial family wants to be the third party, so how can it give us just cause? It will only work to boost our forces. Not to mention he hardly has an excuse to deal with us. He must be thinking he has us and Juefan right where he wants us. Humph, delusions is what he has. Before he even gets the chance, I'll make sure his backyard burns. Huangpu Tianyuan slapped the table. Long Wucheng smiled with a wise look. Juefan was laid back, waiting for the war to come knocking. He had figured out the imperial family's reaction ages ago, and had drafted that ridiculous and flashy deceleration for the same reason. He painted himself as the picture of loyalty, since no one was there to refute him anyway. Or Regent Estate would have taken the name of a loyal official to boost his ranks, and he'd be left with nothing. This way is much better. I am as guilty as you are righteous, making this war fair and square. As for the imperial family throwing its hooks in, humph, his backyard won't be so quiet for long. With a twisted smile, Juefan looked in the imperial capital's direction, confident in his contingencies. Anywho, in the imperial palace, the emperor in his throne had a shifty look in his eyes now and then. Marshal Dugu, it's time. Order me, your majesty. Dugu Zhantian bowed. The emperor said, Marshal Dugu, with purging traitors as the reason, assemble 1,000,000 men. I'm sure you know what to do next. I understand. Sighing inside, Dugu Zhantian shook his head. In defeat, the emperor wanted him to root out all traitors. As for who these were, he didn't say. It was the same as asking to kill them all, and the emperor was sure to have their list of crimes ready to publicize any time. But to go to war against his godson was something this OL marshal found toiling. But the emperor had given his order, and he had to obey. Your majesty, my departure will bring great chaos in the imperial capital. I fear. It's fine. Dugu Zhantian was wrecked with worry, but the emperor cut him off. I have made plans for this eventuality. Marshal can go with ease. This plan will settle Tianyu's critical situation. No mistakes are allowed. Understood. Dugu Zhantian bowed and left the palace. The emperor was struck with grief seeing him go. Marshal, for the good of the nation, I can only be ruthless. Days later, news of Dugu Zhantian's army being on the move spread to every ear. Juefan and Huangpu Tianyuan snickered. Only the prime minister was frowning. Obscure wolf slipped before him once again. Excited, Prime Minister Zhuge, even Dugu Zhantian has left the emperor's side. This is our best chance so far. We wait. Zhuge Chongfeng's brow was locked in a tight scowl. Hu Lianshai grew unsettled. Prime Minister, sir, all of the emperor's loyal subjects are gone. He is defenseless. If we wait for him to settle all conflicts, in and out of court, it'll be too late. The garrison has been putting pressure on us to leave since a few days ago as well. We can't wait much longer. Sighing, Zhuge Chongfeng's mind was a mess. Finally he spoke. We wait. For what? Prime Minister, sir, what's holding you back? Hu Lianshai was angry now. The Chuanrong's finest weren't here on a sightseeing trip. Going around the place doing nothing all the time would end up being the shame of their army back home, but this was all on the Prime Minister flicking his sleeve. Hu Lianchai was gone, leaving Zhuge Changfeng alone with his jumbled thoughts. Whoosh. His two elders appeared at his sides, bowing. Lord Prime Minister, what plagues you? Of the 5 divine dragons, we've only ever seen 3. Now who do you think the other 2 are? Zhuge Changfeng said. The Yin-Yang elders understood his plight and said, Lord Prime Minister, you've held back all this time because of these 2 divine dragons. Know yourself and your enemy, and you will be ever victorious. Even against divine dragons. If I do not know who they are, our impetuous action will be the death of us. Black Elder said, Lord Prime Minister, I have a conjecture but find it inappropriate. A man of your power has traveled far and knows much. No matter what happens in Tianyu, however people hide themselves, nothing comes as a surprise to you. Yet we have no information on these 2 divine dragons. They may not even exist, made up by the imperial family as a bluff. SSS. Zhuge Changfeng gasped. You mean to say the old man has been using the empty city tactic? This is one dangerous bet. He would rather send everyone to deal with Regent Estate and Zhuofan, and only then settle the court? That would mean not acting now will be a waste. But what if it's all a trap and everything we've worked for would go down the drain? That old coot scheme is brilliant. I am truly in a dilemma. Zhuge Changfeng sighed, but his gaze steeled. Send the order to get ready. Second Prince was pacing in his new manner, excited and worried. Whoosh. A second later, he found himself looking at a gray robe and said, Sir Yu Ming, you're back at last. The situation. I know. Yu Ming had a crafty smile. Your Highness, this is your moment. Truly? Second Prince beamed, too excited to speak. Chapter 439, Rebellion. Chapter 439, Rebellion. Come night. Second Prince and Yu Ming were sitting in the main hall waiting for information. Below them were military officials, with the commander of the city guards in the lead since the emperor had left the safety of the capital in the Second Prince's hands. These men were his to command to seize the throne and rule the lands. He needed a proper foundation. What's taking so long? Second Prince's feet bounced, waiting with anxiety. Yu Ming, next to him, shook his head. Second Prince wears his heart on his sleeve. How can he be ruler material? If by some miracle he gets the throne, he'll soon get kicked off anyway. Unlike the current emperor, who, despite being known as incapable, had his own thinking. He had toyed with Tianyu's old foxes for decades. A true master of the mind. Just how can such a father have a hot head for a son? Humph, that midwife must have been at fault. She must have dropped him on his head at birth. Smiley face, the literal translation. She had to have thrown away the baby thinking it was the placenta rather than the true baby, i.e., calling him brain dead. Yu Ming mocked him inside. Second Prince had no clue that his most trusted advisor had no trust in him at all, only waiting impatiently for the spy. Whoosh. A man appeared in front. On his knees, Second Prince jumped to his feet. What's the situation? Your Highness, Dugu army has been marching for a month and is thousands of leagues away. It will be impossible for them to return in time, even if it is only Dugu Zhantian or the 4 tigers of Tianyu. Truly? Second Prince was ecstatic. Ha, Dugu army is gone for real. Father is wide open. Commander, assemble the 30,000 guards and attack the palace and force Father to abdicate. By morning, at court, I'll be the new emperor. No one can do anything. Ha. Yes, your majesty. Long live the emperor. The commander bowed. Second Prince laughed harder, his face beaming, writing himself off as the emperor already. Let's see who will dare say I'm not fit to rule when I have the imperial palace in my palm. Second Prince left with the captains right behind him. Begin. Capture all officials. I don't want any chaos. 30,000 imperial guards are enough to seize everything. We will settle it tonight. Your majesty is invincible. The men chapped their lips. Only Yu Ming stayed behind with a mocking smile. Humph, the tallest tree gets all the wind. The imperial capital doesn't lack men with power and ambition, so why the hell don't they act? Leaving you to go first? Idiot, your only use is to be someone else's pawn. I've done what Zhuo Fan and Lung Wucheng asked. The imperial capital will be in chaos. Du Gazhantian's army will have to return, and they can fight to their heart's content. Ha ha ha. Yu Ming slunk into the dark night. The main street of the imperial capital was soon crawling with soldiers. One busybody got too curious but was scared away by the display. Some stubborn officials were under house arrest, with nobody going in or out sighing. These men guessed what was going on. Someone was rebelling, now of all times. When everything was in chaos, all they could do was to wait for the resolution. Knowing the night would be a chaotic one, Zhuge Changfeng was at his home, consulting the details of his operation when he heard the commotion outside. One servant reported seeing guards around the house. Everyone was frantic, especially a man with sideburns, shouting, "Humph! Didn't I tell you? He even has the Prime Minister's house surrounded. Just which captain dares to do this?" Minister of War, settle down? Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Ha ha, they're only making a scene, that's all. But Lord Prime Minister, to have guards surround the Minister of War is a direct affront to me. The man was outraged at the gross lack of respect. Zhuge Changfeng laughed. There's no need to feel shame when they aren't even your men. Our men are still waiting outside. Just let these brutes search all they want, then we'll decide on our course of action. Zhuge Changfeng's eyes flashed. The Minister of War showed a crafty grin in reply, nodded and sat down. Inside the imperial palace, the emperor was at his desk when he heard a cry and a servant frantically came over. Why, Your Majesty? This is terrible. Slow down. The emperor remained calm, taking a deep breath. The man said, "Our revolt, Your Majesty. They're attacking the imperial palace, and we're being overrun." What? The emperor rushed to his feet, but the servant begged before he could go. Your Majesty, it's too dangerous. Please use the secret tunnel and flee. I am the ruler of this nation. How can I flee from my lands? Snorting, the emperor walked out. Just who dares to act with such impertinence? At the emperor's steel gaze, the servant sighed and followed behind him. They just stepped out and flames flashed across the sky with shouts and roars echoing everywhere. They saw a tide of soldiers smashing into the imperial palace and the imperial guards being pushed back. He also recognized who the rebels were, the city guards panting. Out of the 3,000 imperial guards, only 300 remained, bloody and wounded. They all circled the emperor, their faces grave, squinting. The emperor looked on happily. My child, why are you using the city guards for your own means and charging on the imperial palace? Ha ha ha, O imperial father. How do you know that I am leading the city guards, and it's not them rebelling on their own accord? A brash laugh announced the arrival of second prince surrounded by 10 radiant stage experts snickering. The emperor mocked, Commander of the guards is not impulsive, and certainly not stupid enough to stick his neck out. You. Second prince was infuriated. The emperor was mocking him for his rash actions, for that useless thing he had on his shoulder, even worse than a city commander, imperial father. I know you've only cared for the elder brother and always looked down on me. But now you shall see what I'm made of. Oh, I think I've seen quite enough, a brainless buffoon. If I'd left the empire in your hands, the Yuan clan won't even see the end of the year, with the nation falling into anarchy. The emperor patronized second prince was fuming. You can look down on me all you want, but history is written by the winner. I have you surrounded. The entire imperial palace is under my control. Make me an emperor now, and I will let you retire and leave in bliss. Humph, you really are my son. But what if I don't plan on retiring? Maybe I'll keep this seat a while longer. The emperor belittled, shuddering. The second prince spat. Imperial father, don't push me. What? You'll kill me? Kill your own flesh and blood? The emperor taunted. Second prince's eyes were red. Imperial father, you will abdicate, whether you want to or not, or our ties will be cut in blood. Second prince shouted, Guard, bring his majesty a pen and paper. He is about to abdicate. Kill anyone who interferes. Understood. The guard army roared like a tsunami, filled with zest and power as it pressed on. The emperor was not the least bit scared, but one couldn't say the same about the imperial guards around him. Shirking back slowly, second prince saw them still acting firm and looked to his left. One radiant stage expert caught his meaning and flew for the emperor, but a figure cut that expert's path while someone shouted, "Second brother, stop." Chapter 440, Oriole behind. Chapter 440, Oriole behind. Bam! The clash rattled the men, making both sides drop their weapons in favor of covering their ears. The two experts separated, and the radiant stage expert fell back to the second prince's side. The other was next to the emperor, followed by 7 more. The remaining radiant stage guards in the imperial palace Yungning scrambled over, ranting, "Second brother, how can a prince stoop to such disgraceful acts as to take up arms and revolt? Stop this right now, and ask imperial father for forgiveness." "Shut up, Yungning, this has nothing to do with you." Second prince never spared her a glance, only glaring at the emperor. "Imperial father, ever since the fiasco with Shuafan, your radiant stage guards are heavily wounded. You have no chance. I do not wish for patricide, to be labeled a king slayer by the people. I advise you to abdicate." The emperor mocked, "Son, the throne has always been acquired through succession or war. I'll be honest with you. I never cared much for you, nor did I plan on making you the next in line. If you want my throne, you will just have to take it from my hands." The emperor raised his palm. Although empty, it carried all the imperial power he mustered as he taunted, "If you can, that is." Second prince gnashed his teeth, his nails digging into his palms, and spoke in a tragic tone, "Imperial father, finally you've come clean. You never tried to groom me into an emperor, casting me aside from the beginning. Then all I can say is that today, the throne will be mine. Don't blame me, father, as I'm about to break our ties." Second prince almost roared, his eyes bloodshot. The emperor, though, just looked back coldly. Second prince's heart was struck with dolor. He sensed that his beloved imperial father never even considered him as his son, fueling his burning rage. "Kill. Leave none alive. Get the jade seal. I'll draft the order myself." "Understood," the men shouted, storming the palace. The 10 radiant stage experts moved as well, with only 8 experts on the emperor's side and no divine dragons around. They held the advantage. The emperor would soon lay in chains, and the coup would be victorious. The radiant stage experts were giddy at the prospects. They would become the new emperor's loyal officials, blessed with riches and resources. The emperor's radiant stage guards were getting graver by the second. Finding themselves outnumbered and unfit to protect the emperor, Yungning cried, "Father, look out." The emperor still bore the same calculative look, standing firm and unflinching. His eyes flashed at the incoming enemy. "Where are the shadow guards?" "Who?" Black streaks flew from around the emperor with eerie cackles. They moved onto the radiant stage experts like black clouds. In the hundreds, all experts kept calm and retaliated. But their attacks went right through the shadows, having no effect at all. While the shadow guards relied on their strong souls and couldn't enjoy tearing into the enemy, they could at least mess with their minds and unnerve them. There was hardly a radiant stage expert among the shadow guards, but thanks to their creepy methods and their numbers, the enemy had no counter to their harassment. The emperor's radiant stage guards were filled with bloodlust, with the shadow guards keeping the experts busy. The guards would rob their lives. They moved fast, jumped up in the air, and came down under the cover of the shadows with a heavy palm attack. Ugh. Second prince's experts drew a trail of blood as they crossed the sky. As for the city guards, they were pushed back in but few moves from the radiant stage imperial guards. Second prince's experts could do nothing but lay there wounded, watching their brothers breathe their last. The city guards' metal cracked and shuddered back. "Damn those pestering shadows." Second prince spat. "I knew them to only be scouts, but they're actually so strong, even without the Shadow King around." "Imperial father, is this your last ace?" Second prince muttered. The emperor's eyes flashed in disappointment. "Son, know yourself and your enemy, and you shall be ever victorious. You are truly a lost cause to fight your father without even knowing my hidden aces." Sigh. "So many years have passed, yet you never could fix this brash side of yours." Second prince clenched his fists in denial. His mutiny might have less to do with reaching that fantastical throne and more to earn his father's approval, only to have neither. "Second prince, the shadow guards will overrun us. We need to fall back." One radiant stage expert, with blood coming from his mouth, advised. With the imperial capital in turmoil, despite our failure, we will make a comeback as long as your highness live. Comeback? From this? This mutiny, here and now, was his best chance. He took the city guards for himself and struck while the emperor lay defenseless. This was as good as it was ever going to get. Failing now, he'd be hard-pressed to get a chance even remotely as good as this one, and yet. He looked at the fallen Radiant stage experts of his, at the city guards being toyed with by mere hundreds of shadow guards, and the second prince closed his eyes in defeat. I've truly lost. Second prince. Another expert urged, flashing his eyes open. He steeled his voice. Fall back. Second prince and his experts in the lead quickly made their getaway. Yet he turned his head at the emperor now, and then as the city guards followed behind him, the emperor's eyes were struck with lamentation after them. One Radiant stage guard shouted, seeing them on the run. The emperor sighed, waving, "Leave him be." The Radiant stage guards froze, but nodded. Your Majesty is the Lord Supreme, but still a father. Second prince has revolted tonight, yet his Majesty would let him go. While the emperor didn't pursue, some shrewder individuals weren't about to let this prime chance go. Second prince was pulling out of the imperial palace while fending off pursuers when a boom revealed torches lighting up just beyond the gates, shining across thousands upon thousands of faces. Second prince watched the sea of lights and spat, "Crown prince, third brother, have you come to ambush me? Second brother, you had the gall to raise your arms against our emperor and are charged with heinous crimes. Talk. How is the imperial father?" Crown prince stepped forth, demanding. Yuan Song was worried. "Second brother, how are the imperial father and Youngning? You couldn't have been so cold as to harm them." "Humph, old third. When people speak of lowbrow, bug-eyed, fat-headed fool, they mean you. I thought it would be obvious by now how they're doing by looking at my beaten army." Second prince mocked, "Ha ha ha, elder brother. You sure are considerate. I'm sure you've been waiting for this chance for a long time. With the sin of regicide on my head, you would have all the right to take me down and take the throne for yourself. Humph, like a true Oriole. Now I see why the imperial father made you crown prince. You really are resourceful." Crown prince held him in a cold stare. "Second brother, you are jumping to conclusions. I only have imperial father's safety in mind." "Do you, now? Then you should be relieved to know that the imperial father is the picture of health, strong as a horse. It'll be a long time before you'll take his mantle, decades even." "Ha ha ha." Second prince cackled, to which the crown prince displayed a bloodthirsty look. "Second brother truly is a waste." Chapter 441, Punishment. Chapter 441, Punishment. Third prince was overjoyed to know that the emperor was unharmed. "Elder brother, imperial father and Youngning are all right. We made it in time. The heavens are by imperial father's side." Crown prince nodded, looking calm. But when he saw the second prince, he barked, "Second brother, you stand accused of inciting rebellion. Give yourself in, and let us take you before the imperial father for your sentence." Second prince mocked, "You've got another thing coming if you think it'd be that easy. I may have failed, but I still have my guards, my Radiant stage experts. It'd be easy to get through you." "Would it?" Crown prince looked down on him with a smile and shouted at the crowd, "Officers of the city guard, have you forgotten whose men you really are? You have taken up arms against your lord, but your name is still on the record. You may run, but what about your families? Will you condemn them to annihilation?" Every city guard shuddered on hearing this, and their morale plunged. Frowning, second prince picked up on the crown prince's trick and his eyes spat fire. Crown prince snickered, addressing the men once more, "You are all loyal soldiers of the nation, tough and hardworking. This is not how you should go down in history. You are also victims in this mutiny. Stand down, turn back, and I promise, in my name as Crown Prince, that His Majesty will overlook this act of yours. You will keep your jobs. You will stay as city guards." "Crown Prince." Second Prince snapped, jumping at him with a 5th-grade spiritual weapon. Crown Prince was firm, facing him with a 5th-grade spiritual weapon of his own. Bam! Under the screeches of metal grinding on everyone's ears, They saw a terrible explosion as the second prince was pushed back and started spurting blood. He lay on the ground. Pale and haggard Crown Prince stood up with his weapon out. Just like before, a cold smile on his lips. The only testament to his power was the cracked pavement underneath. Second Prince. The Radiant stage experts helped him up, while the city guards stayed away, as did the commander. Crown Prince had given them a way out. Picking up arms now would doom not only them but their families, their entire clans. The warm smile of Crown Prince showed them how much he appreciated their intelligence, and he now turned to the Radiant stage experts. Every single cultivator only fights for resources, spirit stones and pills. Now that he has failed in his rebellion, what could he possibly give you? Give up and stand beside me. I will make you venerables. Or would you rather be on the run with my retarded brother? Ha ha ha. Inciting a rebellion is a heavy crime, not something even a Radiant stage expert would dare commit on a whim, or he'd soon find himself hunted down by the Empire. Of course, if you think you're Gu Santong who could fight a nation, then by all means. With a shiver, the experts felt a desperate fear run through their blood. They were just average, not freaks of Zhua Fan or Gu Santong's caliber to flip the table in the Emperor's face on a whim. It was all about power, something they sorely lacked. Without much suspense, they all sighed and left with hands behind their backs, towards the Crown Prince. Watching his men leave him one by one left the second prince with a sinking feeling, his gaze empty. Ha ha ha, see that? The moment you lose is the moment you have nothing. The experts, the city guards, they didn't do it for you, but for that thing hovering over your head, the title of prince. Now that even that is taken away, you are nothing, just a lonely rebel. Your only choice now is to give up. Ha ha ha. Crown Prince laughed at the second prince frozen on the ground. Not only was ruling out of reach, even his status was threatened. Third prince shook his head, sending 2 men to tie him up. His mind was still in shock, walking around like an empty shell, only capable of regret and dread. The Emperor was back at his desk, lamenting. Yongning poured him tea, urging, "Imperial Father, please cheer up." Second brother's merely blinded by greed, the power having gone to his head. He'd never willingly hurt you. Ha ha ha, I would have been happier if he did. A pity this is as far as my child can go. The Emperor shook his head. Yongning started. What does that mean? Nothing. This is a man's game, something you don't understand and hope you never will. The Emperor patted her head with a fond gaze. I wish for you to stay like this forever, pure and unmarred by the world's corruption. Blinking her big eyes, Yongning nodded. Clueless, the Emperor smiled. I just love that silly look on your face. Ha ha ha. Report. A sharp voice announced the arrival of a servant. Your Majesty, Crown Prince and Third Prince's timely intervention has captured Second Prince's rebel army. The 2 princes are wishing to see your Majesty with the rebel prince. Humph, impeccable timing too. The Emperor snorted. I'll allow it. Yes. The servant left. Yongning watched in worry. Imperial Father, what are you going to do with second brother? The Emperor's eyes flashed, the silence weighing heavy on Yongning's innocent heart. They were kin, born of the same parent. How could she bear seeing her father kill her brother? But even she realized the gravity of rebellion. A prince would suffer the same fate as the next criminal, the gallows. The fact that she could do nothing to plead his case only burdened her heart more. Crown Prince and Blobby brought in a tied-up second prince. Imperial Father, I ask that you forgive me for my late arrival to your rescue. Crown Prince, how did you handle your brother and the guards? The Emperor asked. Crown Prince was candid. Forgive me, Imperial Father. I have taken the liberty to let them go, to let them return to their posts. With troubled times upon us, you cannot blame them. There was no need to exacerbate. Crown Prince, you've done well. The Emperor nodded. Crown Prince bowed with gratitude. I thank Imperial Father for his kind words. The Emperor turned to the captive son. I've told you before. You can only have what I give you and never take what I don't give you. Do you finally see the wisdom in my words? Humph. What use does wisdom have to a defeated general? Second Prince sighed. I never considered the fact that the reason behind my rebellion was all due to my title as prince, the title Imperial Father gave me. Now that you've taken it away, I will be worse than nothing. Ah, Imperial Father, is this what you wanted me to see? The emperor shook his head. The sky is boundless and the lands vast, but the power of the emperor goes beyond them all. I only wish to tell you that I am the true ruler of Tianyu. You can pull any stunt you like, as long as you don't rebel. Second prince sighed. Hanging his head, Crown Prince's eyes glinted. Imperial father, may I ask what is the second prince's sentence? The fatty probed. All eyes turned to the emperor. Only second prince's head was still down. In the pits of despair, the emperor took a deep breath. Guards, throw second Prince Yuan Yong in prison, where he shall spend the remainder of his days. Second prince shuddered, incapable of believing his ears. He had rebelled and should have been given the noose, so why? A father's love is boundless. You may find it in you to take my life for the throne, but I will never think for a second to kill my son. Take him away, the emperor mocked and sighed. Second prince never spoke a word even as he was dragged away by the imperial guards, but his eyes reddened. The fatty and Yongning perked up. Crown Prince looked happy, but the emperor picked up on the discontent in his eyes. Crown Prince, a lord needs to show mercy. He can no longer stand in your way. As both a warning and advice, the emperor spoke with a flick of his sleeve, sending them all away. Crown Prince shuddered, his face gloomy as he shuffled away with a lowered head. Chapter 442, To War. Chapter 442, To War. At long last, the sun dawned on the imperial capital after a tumultuous night. Finding the city guards at their posts and the order restored, Zhuge Changfeng and many officials were waiting in the prime minister's mansion for updates. A shadow burst in and whispered in Zhuge Changfeng's ear, causing his smile to widen. Prime Minister, sir, what's the situation? The Minister of War asked. Zhuge Changfeng shook his head. Like a true failure he is, the second prince could never live up to his majesty's ability. However, and he laughed, thanks to the second prince's tantrum, he left his majesty open to scrutiny. He is indeed playing the empty city tactic. All he has are some shadow guards and wounded imperial guards. The Minister of War proposed. Then we can. Of course. Zhuge Changfeng was firm. Having grasped the truth, the old man has gone all in on this move of his. He has sent his forces to deal with those two, yet sits steady on his throne to blind us. He'd never guessed that his treasured empty city tactic is now in shambles. It's like the heavens are begging us to take this chance. Ha ha ha. Minister, our forces can begin. Take the imperial palace within the week. Zhuge Changfeng's eyes flashed. His voice stern. The Minister of War saluted, as did the rest of the excited officials. The time for a new ruler is upon us. News of the second prince's rebellion spread like wildfire, reaching Duge Zhantian's ears thousands of miles away. 3 days later, Duge Zhantian panicked and was about to turn back. He didn't even get to strike camp, though, as a yellow flash landed before the marshal's tent bearing a scroll with imperial edict on it. Duge Zhantian convened with his tigers and received the order. Hear ye, the emperor's edict. Marshal Dugu is to stamp out the traitors and press on with valor. He is not to return without results. The radiant stage messenger was one of the few capable guards the emperor had left. For him to come at this time spoke of the importance of this order. Du Zhantian took the edict. I am honored. May his majesty live a long and prosperous life. And then he put on a heavy look. Is his majesty safe? Rest easy, Marshal Dugu. Everything has been handled. Second prince's rebellion was put down swiftly. The messenger smiled. Duge Zhantian relaxed, yet was pensive, but this would have revealed all the forces by his majesty's side. His aged face was filled with wrinkles from all the worry. Once more the messenger spoke with admiration. Marshal Dugu is indeed loyal to a fault to the nation. To be frank, his majesty's guard isn't looking good. But as you can see from his majesty's decree, you cannot return. His majesty is burning all his boats. For peace in Tianyu, he is willing to forego even his safety. Duge Zhantian shook his head. The messenger nodded slowly after he left. Duge Zhantian looked at the thin paper in his hands for a long time. The emperor feared he'd rush back after catching the news of the capital, and sent this radiant stage expert. Any delay would not only promise a swift end to Zhuofan and Regent Estates' war, but would also give them time to recoup. There'd be no point in going then. Turning into both sides, losing. Duge Zhantian was once again touched by his emperor's concern and struck out camp to set off. Only this time, his marching was faster, hoping to settle the matters here and get back to the imperial capital before anything worse happened. Meanwhile, in a deep ravine, Luo clan and Regent estate were each parked on the hills opposite of each other, each eyeing the other with the thirst for battle despite the declarations of war. Despite the drive to quell each other, they still had some qualms about fighting, fears revolving around hidden traps. But time was of the essence, and the sooner they got this over and done with, the better, which led to an accord to the face-off here, at Troubled Falcon's Gully, in a head-on and above-board manner. On the Luo clan's corner, besides Zhuo Fan and his radiant stage elders, there were experts from his 3 allies present as well. Each of them glared at Regent Estate with rage and malice for destroying their homes. Hatred consuming them. Regent Estate's side was no different. Its allies mirrored the enemy's thirst for blood and deep rancor. It was by Zhuo Fan's grace that their homes were in an even sorrier sight. The desecration of their ancestors tended to bring out the worst in people. Who knew? Their hatred for Zhuo Fan went beyond bone deep at this point. It was in their DNA. They wished for nothing more than to put Zhuo Fan into a press and squeeze him for all the blood he had, yet all they've been doing these past weeks was measuring egos by means of glares. With neither wanting to take the first step down this bloody war, it had the added effect of fermenting each side's hatred and testing their ever-thinning patience. That was the only thing they could do, as each side's allies were either under direct orders from Zhuo Fan or Regent Estate with no right to complain. They just had to wait and wait some more. Steward Zhuo, we've been staring at each other for weeks. When do you plan to attack? Grandmother found the limit of her patience once more and came to urge Zhuo Fan. As she had done many times till now, the other houses nodded. Zhuo Fan was laid back per usual, in his comfy deck chair, his lazy eyes closed and his voice drawn out. Easy, we're still waiting for the right timing. Still? Until when do we wait? Until we become statues of liberty. Peony Overseer snapped. Zhuo Fan swayed in his chair. The same thing was going on at Regent Estate's corner. Yuan Shan and company were boiling, but Huangpu Tianyuan and Long Wuchang reigned them, and they were all a powder keg of emotions with nowhere to vent. Whoosh. 2 jade slips arrived at the camp. Zhuo Fan skimmed over it as Long Wuchang did the same. The two were miles from each other, yet reacted at the same time and in the same manner. Ha ha ha. At last there's movement. What do you mean? Grandmother asked, snickering. Zhuo Fan shot to his feet and barked. Notify the elders. We attack at once. What? They were all baffled. He just asked us to wait, and the next second he is asking us to attack? Just what on earth happened? Nonetheless, they all began war preparations, eager to get the show on the road and the blood flowing in quick order. Rows of experts rolled out into the valley like a black cloud, glaring at the hill 1,000 meters in the distance. Huangpu Tianyuan and Long Wuchang brought out their army as well. Zhuo Fan. Huangpu Tianyuan and Long Wuchang's eyes met and they burst out laughing. We finally get to see today, when I can tear you to shreds, all to my heart's content. Zhuo Fan, it's high time you paid for taking away my son. Huangpu Tianyuan roared, to which Zhuo Fan only had derision. Huangpu Tianyuan, let's see you try. Long Wuchang fanned himself with a smile. Estate Lord, Steward Zhuo, we are all bitter enemies here, with each side wishing to destroy the other. Just that there were so many interferences along the way. This is a rare occasion, with Second Prince's rebellion igniting the chaos, yet Dugu army still marching towards us. It won't be long before Prime Minister Zhuge acts as well and gets him to turn back. That only leaves the two of us, to tear into each other with a bright smile on our faces. Isn't it great? So why waste time with pointless chatter? We need to settle our grudges with speed and force, giving time for the winner to take the nation. As for the loser, it will become a stepping stone with no regrets. No regrets indeed. Zhuo Fan beamed. I never pegged Sir Long to be such a bold man. All words now are useless. Everyone has come prepared, so what are we waiting for? Let's do some killing. No matter what hatred we had before, this battle is all that's important. Whoever stands tall in the end. What do you say, Estate Lord Huangpu? Huangpu Tianyuan beamed as well. Ha ha ha. Rightly said indeed. Hatred aside, in the race for power the weak gets eaten. Why would the king of the world ever care about some petty squabbles? Zhuo Fan, you are a man of ambition. For me to fight you today, with the world at stake, it is an honor. The revenge for my son no longer matters. Why would a man with his eyes on the world ever mind such trifles? Then, Estate Lord Huangpu, shall we? Zhuofan snickered. Huangpu Tunyuan had the same twisted smile as both of them roared, to war. Chapter 443, General versus General. Chapter 443, General versus General. The leaders' roars rattled the skies, and their men's ears poured out from each side like black rain. Bone-tempering disciples, the two sides' gazes were locked as the wave of men rushed past them and deeper into the valley. These men's eyes turned red, consumed by madness as they exploded with yuan qi. It took only an instant to brandish their weapons and hack their opponents. The entire troubled Falcon's Gully was saturated with people, in the hundreds of thousands, drowning any other sound with their endless manic cries for blood and death. There were rules to war. Soldiers went against soldiers, and generals paired with generals, as profound heaven experts and radiant stage experts were pretty much killing machines amidst bone-tempering cultivators. Both sides agreed on having their disciples' battle ignored, opting instead to stare off their equals in cultivation just across the gully. They were the real targets. Killing bone-tempering disciples only brought disgrace. Safe to say, the killing inside the gully among disciples reached the heavens. While their superiors were still in a stare-down competition behind them, Huangpu Fenglei, Mad Dipper Li Jingtian stood out, bowing before the High Venerable. We didn't get to finish our last fight in the imperial capital. With this prime chance befalling, will you dare meet me in battle? Ha ha ha, Li Jingtian. You're on quite the high horse, shamelessly uttering those words to me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you under me? Laughing, Huangpu Fenglei came forward with an intent to fight and a condescending look. Li Jingtian grinned. Humph, that's all in the past. All I'm asking is if you would dare to come at me. Why wouldn't I? Huangpu Fenglei jumped in the air towards him. Li Jingtian laughed as he did the same. The two met with a resounding bang, blowing away the clouds for a mile around. Their clash was so loud that the house lords on each side had to hold their ears due to pain. Only radiant stage experts, and the likes of Zhuofan and Huangpu Tianyuan, kept standing tall and observing their duel. Huangpu Fenglei shone golden, and 9 dragon images appeared on his sides. The peak of imperial tyrant body art. Li Jingtian flickered in darkness, enveloped in a black dragon image. He was using Wraith Art's power to cover himself. Both were peak radiant stage experts armed with profound ranked martial arts trained to extremes. They were the brightest gems around, evenly matched. The surging powers at work here had the valley divided. One side was shrouded in a black dragon, with lightning crackling along its way, the other in glorious golden halo and imposing dominance. Yet neither could win over the other. Stuck in a constant stalemate, Huangpu Tianyuan's brow trembled, sighing. I now know why Elder Li threw his lot with the Luo clan. I don't even recognize this art. But for him to stand on solid ground against High Venerable, it goes on to show how much power it has. I can't fathom how the Luo clan could have such wonderful art. Had Elder Li stayed in Regent Estate, he'd never have reached High Venerable's level, even after training for a century in the incomplete Imperial Tyrant body art. But now, ha ha ha, Estate Lord, I anticipated Luo clan might be complex. Elder Li is no fool, and his complete loyalty to Zhuofan shows that he got something great out of it. It was his best choice, taking the Luo clan's outstretched hand. Lung Wucheng smiled. Huangpu Tianyuan sighed inside. Zhuofan is a genius among geniuses. In under 10 years, he dragged a nobody third-rate clan up the stairs of power, turning it into a colossus. Ignoring him 7 years ago is my greatest failure. If only I knew, I'd have sent everything to cull him. Huangpu Tianyuan squinted. Zhuofan had a knowing smile, tracing 2 fingers on his neck as a taunt. Huangpu Tianyuan turned to look at the fight above. Humph, Zhuofan, be smug all you want. I may not have taken you out when I should, but your time will come soon, very soon. You aren't invincible. You have yet to taste my 9 dragons' diamond body. Humph. Bang. The body cultivators in the sky had similar styles, unleashing one overpowered attack after another. It took but a second to exchange 10 moves, with no clear winner in sight. Li Jingtian was out of breath and bruised up. Huangpu Fenglei mirrored him in every regard, except for the shocked look. This was his first time truly going against Li Jingtian. It was natural to be overwhelmed seeing Li Jingtian's power reach his level after a mere decade. It used to take less than 10 moves to floor him. This expert today was outraged at his inability to reach the same outcome. Today Li Jingtian was ecstatic. He enjoyed the simple things in life, like challenging his ex-boss who could, at one time, deck him good. Li Jingtian grinned. Huangpu Fenglei, have you been losing your touch the past couple of years? You are not swinging your punches like you used to. Is old age catching up to you? Ha ha ha. Shut your pie hole. I'm only going easy on you, and this is the thanks I get. Mockery. In that case, I won't leave you with a shred of honor. Huangpu Fenglei went red from anger, yet his heart was queasy since he did give his all. Anything more would mean staking his life, as well. Did he really have to put his weary old bones on the line to get out of this? While he was having a hard time making a decision, Li Jingtian had already made his. He had set out to do one thing today, beat his ex-boss. Missing this chance, Zhuofan was bound to finish him off at some point. As a martial fanatic, he just had to beat the guy who had wrecked him years ago, or he'd never forgive himself. It would have the added side effect of affecting his cultivation. Li Jingtian gnashed his teeth and spat. Huangpu Fenglei, take this. Li Jingtian's black aura exploded, shooting for Huangpu Fenglei as a black dragon wrapped around him. Humph! Isn't it the same soaring demonic dragon again? It won't change a thing. Huangpu Fenglei snorted with a shiny golden glow around him. Li Jingtian had a creepy smile on him though, and, just before impact, he halted to make a sign. Wraith Style's third move, Necro Dragon Screech. Roar! The black dragon image ripped the space in its charge towards Huangpu Fenglei. Safe to say, even with Imperial Tyrant body art, Huangpu Fenglei would have a hard time fending off such an onslaught from such a short distance, and that was the truth of it. Huangpu Fenglei was forced into letting his soul take the brunt. A wound on the soul meant a drop in strength, which translated into defeat facing his ex-subordinate and losing. High Venerable's name would be soaked in mud. Huangpu Fenglei bit his tongue and spat blood as he made a sign. Imperial Tyrant Body Art's 10th stage, Imperial Presence. A golden glow washed over him as a golden dragon roamed around him in an airtight seal. The 10th? Zhuofan cried. That's stepping into the Earth-ranked martial art category. Does Imperial Tyrant Body Art have a 10th stage? Huangpu Tianyuan was stumped, amazed that Huangpu Fenglei had reached such a level. Imperial Tyrant Body Art had 9 stages, with the 10th stage mere hearsay. Only the ancestors of Regent Estate a millennium ago could reach it. High Venerable is a genius of his generation, no less than the eldest young master. If not for the dragon soul defending him, he never would have been High Venerable's match. High Venerable is a true genius of the millennium. Lung Wucheng praised Huangpu Tianyuan. Nodded. Huangpu Fenglei laughed behind the golden curtain. Li Jingtian, do you see this? This is the true power of Imperial Tyrant Body Art, martial and spiritual unity. Be it physical or soul attacks, nothing can break the Imperial presence. Think again. Li Jingtian grinned. His black aura disappeared as an eerie power built up while he extended 2 fingers. High Venerable, the only way to make your defeat true is by taking you down at your best. Zhuofan cried. Elder Li. Chapter 444, A Martial Fanatic's Honor. Chapter 444, A Martial Fanatic's Honor. A dreadful wave shot from Li Jingtian's fingers. His face went purple, blood leaked from his mouth and the veins in his arms pulsed, ready to burst, yet none of that could wipe the excitement off his face, releasing every ounce of power he had. That's the profound ranked martial art, Finger of Death. Sensing the energy, Qiu Yinhai cried, ever since Steward has taught it to us, we haven't had much time to practice it. Yet this geezer has already mastered it. He really is the Mad Dipper. Xue Qingjin nodded in praise. Only Zhuofan sighed. Huangpu Fenglei, try this on for size. Despite sucking all of his yuan qi, the move launched quickly, leaving Li Jingtian's finger at his shout whoosh. With a series of bangs, something unseen came out of his fingers and went straight for his target. The roaming dragon was outraged. It grew dozens of times in size and retaliated its power, as if coming from heavens themselves. Pressed on the house lords with such might, fear festered in their hearts. Huangpu Fenglei, wrapped in his pillar of light, showed shock at Li Jingtian hiding such a killer move. The power of that soul attack went beyond Radiant stage, and not even with the help of Imperial Tyrant Body Art's 10th stage could he fend it off. Huangpu Fenglai was sweating, his big eyes taking on a heavy gaze. Qiu Yinhai and Xue Qingjian were panicking. Steward Zhua, that's combination art. Zhua Fan shook his head. The two were even more nervous now. But he's just one man? How can he perform combination art? Elder Li may very well be the only one who can. Zhua Fan sighed. Necro Dragon Screech and Finger of Death are sole profound ranked martial arts and can be combined. But to do that, both have to be executed in tandem, intrinsically at the same time. Even you two will find it hard to achieve it. But with Elder Li knowing both of them, combining them is not the issue here. Zhua Fan's frown deepened, gazing at the aged figure above. Different martial arts imply that Yuan Qi takes different paths through one's meridians. When you launch an attack, there's always a pause before the next. Elder Li, I'm afraid, pulled out all the stops, unleashing the arts at almost the exact same time. This translates into broken meridians from the clashing flows of Yuan Qi, and you'll be crippled. Elder Li may have achieved it, but his body is finished. What? Elder Li. The couple's faces fell, turning to Li Jingtian. His power was plunging after unleashing the two arts. Elder Li, why did you have to go so far? Huangpu Fenglai is strong, but not invincible. There's no hatred between you two, so why must you pay the ultimate price? Zhua Fan and the power couple were vexed. This is no kill or be killed situation. Xie Tianshang whipped out his sword, coming before them, and smiled at the figure above. Zhua Fan, you do not understand a martial fanatic's heart. If you do not surpass an opponent you recognize, it will leave one with regrets. Today is when these two sides will settle their differences once and for all. If we fail, we will die. If we win, we will kill them. With your strength, Huangpu Fenglai will most likely die at your hands, something Elder Li can't stop. It means that this is his last chance to fight his enemy. He must defeat his opponent by any means necessary. This is a martial fanatic's will and glory. Spoken like a true martial fanatic, the people watched Elder Li pant, as blood kept pouring out of him, but his eyes were full of joy, his smile wide. It's so hard to understand the mind of a martial fanatic. The way I see it, winning is everything. But to win at the cost of your own life is highly inadvisable. Zhua Fan shook his head, but smiled. Get ready, it's our turn soon. The rest had fire burning in their eyes. The now huge black dragon image above finally clashed with the golden pillar. Bam! The resulting explosion was like the aftermath of a bomb. The pillar shook under the point-blank impact, slowly getting riddled with cracks. With a snap, it fell apart and dissolved into flickers of light, while the black dragon was relentless in its pursuit for Huangpu Fenglai. Boom! Huangpu Fenglai felt his brain explode, and an excruciating pain riddling his heart. Spitting blood, he slammed the ground, his soul in critical state while his feeble consciousness still held on. He jumped towards Regent Estate. He knew he had lost this fight. Standing around longer would only mean death. Huangpu Fenglai recalled his glorious name as Regent Estate's High Venerable, and grief struck him. The fact that he had lost it all in a single move made this grandpa's aged heart rot with sorrow. Old Li, I'll get you for this next time. Li Jingtian had no time to wait that long. His wretched body had already passed the point of no return. He had to fulfill his wish. No matter the price. Blackness exploded from Li Jingtian once again. But so did blood. He bore through the pain as he jumped at Huangpu Fenglai. Ha ha ha, High Venerable, let's settle our grudges. Wraith Style's first move, Soaring Demonic Dragon. We never had any grudges. It's you who is so pig-headed to push it this far. Huangpu Fenglai saw the black figure chase after him and was stunned and puzzled. He noticed Li Jingtian's odd situation. You should lick your wounds first. We have no hatred. So stop forcing yourself to come after me, all right? Huangpu Fenglai felt like crying, unable to make sense of it all. He'd never guessed that Li Jingtian operated on much simpler motivations, to kill him with his own two hands. High Venerable. Huangpu Tianyuan shot forth, bringing joy to Huangpu Fenglai's eyes. Estate Lord. Zhua Fan's eyes flashed golden in the nick of time, cutting Huangpu Tianyuan's timely aid short. Zhua Fan? Huangpu Tianyuan gnashed his teeth. Shuafan grinned. Elderly is on my side, and I will respect any decision he makes. You won't be going anywhere. Humph, we'll just see about that. Huangpu Tianyuan's right hand was enveloped in a golden dragon image for a second before turning into a scaled claw and attacking. The sharp talons whistled through the air. Transformation, Earth Dragon Claw. He knew this move all too well, since he had as well, courtesy of his own dragon soul. So Shuafan responded with the same coin clang. The clash resulted in screeches grating the ears of others. The two separated. Finding the clash, even Shuafan beamed. So you did train in 9 Dragons' diamond body. But that can't be all that a legendary Earth-ranked martial art can do, right? Ha ha ha, Shuafan, this is all thanks to the Bodhi root you got for us. But I won't be going easy on you. You are destined to die today. Is that so? Shuafan chuckled, followed by a shifty smile. Chapter 445, King Against King. Chapter 445, King Against King. Estate Lord, save me. Seeing the manically Jingtian fast approaching, Huangpu Fenglei swallowed his pride and begged for help, but with Huangpu Tianyuan and Shuafan doing the tango, help was on hold to settle this battle. All Huangpu Tianyuan had to do was squash Shuafan. And with the target right in front of him, victory was not something the life of a High Venerable could outweigh. Safe to say, High Venerable's cries for help went unanswered. Lung Wuchang had a contingency set for just this possibility, calling for the rest to move in. Shuafan had the estate lord blocked. But what about the others? Dozens of radiant stage cultivators and profound heaven experts shot for Huangpu Fenglei. Region Estate's 20-plus venerables were even faster. Anyone would panic when their boss life was on the line. Shuafan moved, seeing the crowd, and Huangpu Tianyuan stepped in to block him. Shuafan chuckled, not minding it in the least. Whoosh. Others would handle the radiant stage rescue party, not to worry. The power couple and the 4 scheming demons, with a few radiant stage experts from their 3 allies, moved in while Yuan Shan's team of profound heaven experts was facing grandmother's team. It was Shuafan's plan and his order. No one was to interfere in Elder Li's fight. Lung Wuchang took in the new battlefield inside. No matter the outcome of today's battle, High Venerable's life is forfeit. Li Jingtian arrived at last upon his target, the black aura having reached its peak. Huangpu Fenglei paled. With the rescue team up a creek, he was left to fend for himself. Shouting, he shone golden once more. Roaring, Li Jingtian, don't test me or I'll fight you to the death. Ha ha ha, just what I want. Li Jingtian turned into a black dragon as it went head first. Boom. Black and golden glows clashed, shaking the world around them and turning many heads as the dust settled and smoke rose. The bloody figures became visible. Li Jingtian was soaked in blood. His chest was caved in, vessels had burst and bones were snapped. His eyes, however, held that look of joy, of pride. Huangpu Fenglei was as pale as a sheet of paper. His pupils dilated and half of his body laid shattered. With vague signs of life, half of his face shuddered. Expressing a contorted and grisly image of unbelievable despair, he ran unchecked over Tianyu for 100 years, and never conceived it humanly possible for the day to come when he'd lose in such a wretched and nasty way. Li Jingtian, we have no hatred. Why must you be so obsessed with my death? Words slipped out of Huangpu Fenglei's stiff face, coughing from the pain in his chest. Li Jingtian's smile never left him. Huangpu Fenglei, today you lost to me in 3 moves. In your blind arrogance, you once said to me that I was of poor talent, only worthy to be behind you. You were strong then, shaking me to the core as I looked up to you as my role model, but 30 years passed while I trained Imperial Tyrant body art to the 7th stage, only to have my cultivation cut short by your refusal, saying that I'm not worthy to pursue the complete art. When I argued, you beat me up in 1 strike. Then you said that I've reached my limit, and no matter which cultivation method I train in, it'd all be wasted on me, and I'm not fit to follow you. Ever since that day, I've only been a mere guest venerable, an outsider to your venerable circle. And seeing those nondescript region estate venerables training in the full cultivation method, I could never accept this. Even more so when you said that I have reached my limit. I never cared for being an outsider at all. From then on, you have always been my rival, and I vowed to myself to defeat you one day. That day has come. Ha ha ha. Li Jingtian spluttered blood. Huangpu Fenglei felt like crying. Li Jingtian, you narrow-minded fool. You've held on to that trifling event till now. To you it may be pointless, but to me it was unforgettable. My path has no end and no one alive can say otherwise, not even you. Li Jingtian shouted through the pain. Huangpu Fenglei sighed. It is my mistake, my. His eyes closed, his face twitched and relaxed. He had let go of all hatred. Finding peace, Li Jingtian showed a confident smile. High Venerable Huangpu Fenglei was a man who would put honor above all, but he admitted in the end that he was wrong about Li Jingtian because Li Jingtian had beaten him. That 2 in less than 10 moves. Li Jingtian's cultivation was far from over. Closing his eyes, Li Jingtian collapsed. Xie Tianshang appeared beside him, helping him up. He only relaxed after sensing his breath as a fellow martial fanatic. The headstrong Li Jingtian was a prime example he hoped for one day to beat his own rival. Xie Tianshang's eyes flashed as he looked at Zhuo Fan, shouting, Zhuo Fan, elderly is fine, only blacked out from the wounds. Xie Tianshang took Li Jingtian away. Zhuo Fan relaxed, but Xie Tianshang's look had him stunned. Why does it feel like he's looking at me like an enemy? Aren't we allies? Zhuo Fan smiled dejectedly and turned to Huangpu Tianyuan. Elderly and Huangpu Fenglei's battle has reached its end. Our top general's fight now has a conclusion carrying a sad tone with it. What sadness! As kings vying for the crown, power is everything. Huangpu Fenglei died because he was weaker. I'm not sad, so why should you be? Huangpu Tianyuan snorted. Zhuo Fan sighed. I am not sad about your high venerable. Elder Li's story has moved me. A story about someone posing for decades, of how his showboating cracked at the seams in his final moments. It's true what they say, posers get thunderstruck. He got what he deserved. Shouldn't Steward Zhua take heed then, having the same style? Huangpu Tianyuan quipped. Zhuo Fan scratched his nose and nodded. Yeah, after Elder Li's lesson, I think it's best to not only kill those posing in front of me, but also those I'm posing to. Now that you mention it, Estate Lord Huangpu, have I ever posed with you around? Always, but can you kill me? Huangpu Tianyuan raised a taunting eyebrow. Zhuo Fan looked him right in the eye as the calm gave way to endless bloodthirst. He flashed in his enemy's face. Right hand glowing red. Huangpu Tianyuan found the punch already on his chest, reacting only as he was sent flying rumble. Huangpu Tianyuan slammed into 3 mountains, cutting them down to size. Huangpu Tianyuan ended up buried under all the rock slides. Zhuo Fan's grin contorted. I've yet to meet anyone who I've wanted dead but who has survived. Estate Lord. Regent Estate's side shuddered restless. But there was no sign of movement from the rubble, just as everyone started to believe that he had kicked the bucket in one hit. An eerie cackle came. Hi, Zhuo Fan. Is that all your mighty punch can muster? Zhuo Fan deadpanned. Sure enough, 9 Dragons Diamond Body isn't just a fancy name. Now let us begin our fight, king against king. Chapter 446, Unbreakable Diamond Body. Chapter 446, Unbreakable Diamond Body. Roar. Dragonic cries echoed from the rubble, 8 of them. The dust around glittered as a golden glow reflected off it, flooding the entire sky. The thick dust had no chance at containing the mighty light. Zhuo Fan watched the display, fully on guard for anyone or anything that might jump at him. Bam! The rubble pile made of 3 ruined mountains erupted, sending rocks around at breakneck speeds. It took just a blink for the faint figure within that rubble to go from there. To overhear the sight of it sent everyone gasping. Calling it a human was putting it mildly. Had the head of a dragon, 4 sharp talons designed to claw the heavens, covered in scales and with a steel-like whip to boot. That thing was a man-eating savage beast. 9 Dragons Diamond Body. Full body transformation. Unbreakable Diamond Body. Zhuo Fan gasped. Huangpu Tianyuan cackled. This is the pinnacle of dragon transformation. 4 dragon souls have become Earth Dragon Claws, 1 Earth Dragon Body, 1 Earth Dragon Head, and the last, Earth Dragon Tail. Zhuo Fan, you only have 2 strong arms, of which only one is an Earth Dragon Claw. You stand no chance against the might of this unbreakable diamond body. You're finished. Huangpu Tianyuan's eyes shined with bloodlust. Regent Estate's side got fired up except for Regent Estate's venerables. Everyone was in the dark about Estate Lord Huangpu's newfound power, focused on dealing with Zhuo Fan alone. The worry of how to deal with an exemplary freak like Zhuo Fan was now gone. Giving way to confidence, Estate Lord's indifference at High Venerable's death became obvious now. He had upgraded himself to the ranks of freaks. Region Estate's morale was at an all-time high, with victory in sight. While this had the opposite effect on Drifting Flowers edifices, Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquis Abode sided, went beyond their predictions for Huangpu Tianyuan to come fully trained in Nine Dragons Diamond Body. That made relying on Zhuo Fan to score a win for them somewhat problematic. Anxiety was building. Only Zhuo Fan was casual of the 9 Dragon Vein Souls. 1 was his and the 8 were right in front of him. But this guy has only used 7 in his transformation. Is there perhaps one more transformation? What will he turn into then? Taking in Huangpu Tianyuan's monstrous visage, Zhuo Fan failed to see what other transformation could be added to it. He took this as a warning sign for what may come. The last dragon soul may very well be the move to kill me. All the more reason he had to force the enemy to reveal it, create a counter for it, and win this thing. Zhuo Fan flicked his arms. Earth Dragon Soul transformation. Roar. The roar came from Zhuo Fan's left hand, glowing bright gold and revealing the same claw that Huangpu Tianyuan had 3 to spare. His right hand turned red as well, bringing out the power of Qilin arm and Earth Dragon Claw. Huangpu Tianyuan opened his sharp maw in a taunting laughter. Hee, like I said, you only have the Earth Dragon Claw while I have the Unbreakable Diamond Body. It's time I bring back the 9th Dragon Soul where it belongs. Huangpu Tianyuan was upon Zhuo Fan in a blink. Zhuo Fan widened his eyes at the sheer speed. Just short of shift, he clawed with his left arm on instinct. Clang. The 2 Earth Dragon Claws screeched on contact, locked in place. Grinning, Huangpu Tianyuan revealed a savage look while holding Zhuo Fan's left arm busy. Zhuo Fan was clear on his plan, wanting to turn this into a contest of raw power, and with the old guy's entire body prepped and primed, like Gu Santong's, he had no weaknesses. While beside his 2 beast fists, Zhuo Fan was all human. Even after the grueling refining, it fell short to an Earth Dragon's body that made a contest of strength the worst choice, something Huangpu Tianyuan insisted on. Snickering, Huangpu Tianyuan had Zhuo Fan's Earth Dragon Claw busy, while using another claw to slam his brainpan. Bam. This time the clashing sound came from the impact between Zhuo Fan's right arm with the Earth Dragon Claw. The pitch-black eyes looking at him dead in the eye made him clench his teeth. I am more than clear on your left arm, though I am curious, how did you get your right arm to match the Earth Dragon Claw? Hee, quite a fine specimen. I guess I'll just have to rip it out of your cold, dead body. Huangpu Tianyuan's mouth revealed rows of fangs. Zhuo Fan snorted. Estate Lord Huangpu, your sons were naive, and you're no different. If my head was such an easy target, I'd have long since lost it by now. But where the Emperor and Gu Santong failed, do you think you'll succeed? That only makes it vintage, becoming my life's prize trophy. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed, his left Earth Dragon Claw tightening on Zhuo Fan's Qilin arm. Zhuo Fan fumed inside. He tensed his arms to get away, but found them in a vice. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed. Even if you use an Earth Dragon Claw like me, I am a peak radiant stage cultivator, while you are a stage short. Now that you're going nowhere and your arms are locked, you're like a gimp. But even without these 2 arms, I can still take your life. Huangpu Tianyuan unhinged his jaw and bit on Zhuo Fan's head. The whistling wind between those sharp fangs made Zhuo Fan shiver. His allies were shaking with worry. Zhuo Fan was pinned down and had no place to dodge. Huangpu Tianyuan had to just clamp down, cutting short his life in this war. Zhuo Fan squinted, his brow soaked, waiting for the last moment as he stared into the mouth of darkness and found the tooth decay of logic festering therein, before ducking his head. Bam. The snap of those fangs rattled the ears of everyone while almost blowing out Zhuo Fan's eardrums. It was a testament to its savage power. Zhuo Fan sighed relieved. Unlike the tense audience, he had made a lucky escape, but his position was still very much precarious. His hands were still in deadlock, making him easy picking for the monster looming above. Zhuo Fan struggled, but those arms just wouldn't budge. Huangpu Tianyuan toyed with him. Steward Zhuo, everyone reaches their end, and today it's yours. You dodge my bite from above, but how will you escape when I attack from below as well? Huangpu Tianyuan opened his mouth again as the tail whipped at Shuafan. The shrill sound that tail made as it traveled stung his mind and vexed his heart. It was more than capable of splitting his head down the middle. But dodging it would put him right between those fangs. Shuafan was pushed into a corner. Luo clan was worried for him, their hearts in their throats. They wanted to come to his rescue, but with how not even Shuafan could overpower Huangpu Tianyuan, their odds were slim. At best, Regent Estate's allies had it better, everyone smiling at Shuafan's plight. They'd see the hatred for their ancestors' desecration be repaid in full. Estate Lord Huangpu reigns supreme. Yuanshan and others got to an early celebration, but in the face of such a problem, while tied and facing the jaws of death, Shuafan showed no fear. Maybe his flashing right eye had something to do with it. Chapter 447, Stomp Ya. Chapter 447, Stomp Ya. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage. Shift. Whoosh. Shuafan appeared 100 meters away, just as Huangpu Tianyuan chomped down with another resounding snap. The tail swept in tandem, cutting the air with such force, a shockwave flew at a lonely hill a kilometer away, whipping it out of existence. The people tensed up at the overbearing display of power. The slightest twitch from that tail will have any one of us gone from this world, just like that hill. Shuafan's eyes were fixed on the ghastly creature. Rejoicing at his timely escape, he had Divine Eye of the Void to thank for the lucky break. Alert, as he was against 9 dragons' diamond body. Facing it was still deadly. The earlier display was enough to make his skin crawl. That's what got him so confident that he can handle me and Gu Santong. Once he got the Bodhi root, Shuafan settled his frantic heart with a long breath crack. Turning his head, Huangpu Tianyuan's neck let out snapping sounds, mocking, "Ah, almost forgot you have that as well. You're fast, sure, but are you faster than me?" Huangpu Tianyuan flicked his tail and was on Shuafan in a blink. Shuafan saw 2 claws going for his head, and the steel tail coming at him again. Shuafan's eye flashed golden again, and he was gone. But just as he appeared, Huangpu Tianyuan flicked his tail to be in his face. Moments later, while Shuafan was popping all over, Huangpu Tianyuan was with him every step of the way, leaving no room to even breathe. Everyone was a bundle of nerves watching them go. It was a first to see the ever-cocky Shuafan being on the run, taking with him the confidence they had in winning this war. With Shuafan on the run, who else was left to deal with Huangpu Tianyuan? Shuafan was overwhelmed as well. No matter where he went, the guy was there to welcome him, putting the squeeze on him more and more. It worked to show that his Divine Eye of the Void had room for improvement. His training lacking. Yuanshan and the others were overjoyed, grinning from ear to ear. 2 blue wings sprouted from Shuafan's back. Sea phantom wings, their bluish glow spread, and Huangpu Tianyuan felt his mind slowing down, his view becoming hazy. But as he had trained in 9 dragons' diamond body, he was a peak radiant stage expert and had the soul to fight back the illusion. But it proved to be a delay enough for experts of Shuafan's caliber. This is my chance. Shuafan used this gap to use his red right arm to punch. Bam! Huangpu Tianyuan was blown away. Shuafan's mouth curled up, but then his face froze and trembled. In no way. The mighty Qilin arm, actually. Rumble. Huangpu Tianyuan tumbled in the air a few times before getting upright again. He looked at his chest and grinned. There was a faint imprint there, but nothing he couldn't handle. Hi, Shuafan. Is that all you could muster after finally catching me open? Humph, that barely even tickled. Huangpu Tianyuan cackled, with his allies tooting their horns in tandem. Drifting flowers, edifices, and the rest were only getting glum. Huangpu Tianyuan was like an unbreakable monster, robbing them of any chance at victory, even if they got lucky enough to take a shot at him, since besides luck, one had to target his weakness, scoring them the win. But Huangpu Tianyuan didn't have any weaknesses. Shuafan's side was in the pits of despair. Shadow King, Sima Hui, and Feng Qiubai, the innocent bystanders close by, were speechless. We all sensed Huangpu Tianyuan was reborn, but never imagined he'd train in 9 dragons' diamond body. Shuafan can't do anything. Shadow King sighed. If this keeps up, it'll be Regent Estate's victory. And Huangpu Tianyuan becomes our greatest threat. Sima Hui sighed. We would have lent the Luo clan a hand earlier if we had known. But now Huangpu Tianyuan has an overwhelming position, and this will only make dealing with him harder. The others nodded, and Feng Qiubai said, Gu Santong may be the only one who can fight him. But ever since he went after Zhuofan, the bugger has gone missing. Maybe Zhuofan finished him off. Shadow King snorted. The kid is tough, but a child at heart. With Zhuofan's schemes, even being weaker he'd have supreme advantage. It'd be simple to kill him in some way or another. Without Gu Santong, how are we supposed to deal with Huangpu Tianyuan? We were supposed to work with Huangpu Tianyuan to nab Zhuofan, and then get him later. But now even if we team up with Zhuofan, the Nine Dragons' diamond body isn't easy to surmount. All we can do is watch. His Majesty's plan already has deviations. Sima Hui-side Shadow King nodded. Don't be so sure. We still have 2 more people. Who? Sima Hui asked. Shadow King's eyes flashed in anger. His Majesty's 5 divine dragons are real, and he does have 2 experts back in the imperial capital. They were tasked to constrict Gu Santong, but by the looks of things, they'll be going against 9 dragons' diamond body. What? The 2 cried. These 2 divine dragons were in the dark about this, while Shadow King knew them quite well. Judging by his tone, Shadow King smiled at their bewilderment and recalled out loud, "They're old friends of mine, in a way, and more than worthy to be called divine dragons. It's natural to not know about them since you came later. Wouldn't you have been quicker to leave His Majesty's side otherwise, knowing he'd be defenseless?" The 2 exclaimed, "It's all part of His Majesty's plan. But they've been by his side for so many years, yet the Emperor not once let it slip about the extra 2 divine dragons. It went to show how uneasy he felt about them." The 2 sighed, souring inside. Back to Zhuofan, he glared at his enemy, plans running wild in that head of his. His right arm shone brighter. He still won't give up? Stop wasting time. I am invincible. You can struggle all you want, but your destiny is to lie dead at my feet. Zhuofan, there's no getting out of this one. Huangpu Tianyuan's eyes flashed with savagery. Zhuofan snickered, flicking his shining red arm. Who can tell? Since my punch does nothing, I'll just have to stomp ya. Stomp? Huangpu Tianyuan glanced at his legs in derision. You only have powerful arms. You think your puny legs can do what your arms can't? We won't know until we try. Humph. Zhuofan's twisted smile came. Huangpu Tianyuan's common sense was tingling, but seeing how Zhuofan's latest tricks were for naught, he had stopped paying it any attention. No matter how sly and slippery Zhuofan was, in the face of true power, it was all moot. Huangpu Tianyuan swished his tail and shot for Zhuofan. The latter used shift to pop 100 meters above. Huangpu Tianyuan flicked his tail to go after him. Just as Zhuofan's mouth curled into a creepy smile, his red right arm smashing down at him, Huangpu Tianyuan scoffed. Using an earth dragon claw to block on contact, the red fist exploded in size, changing its shape from a fist into a spiritual beast's hoof in the face of the rippling winds. The ridiculous power and boundless might. Huangpu Tianyuan knew he had fallen for it good with Zhuofan. Coming from above and him from below, it was far too late to dodge. The red hoof even brought along a sense of danger. He hated himself for not keeping his guard up around this punk. Zhuofan was laughing. Huangpu Tianyuan, I'll trample those old bones of yours. Tangible projection. Soaring Qilin leg. Chapter 448. Returning Dragon's Roar. Chapter 448. Returning Dragon's Roar. Elite Coder. Bam! It looked like a hunk of rock was coming down as the red Qilin leg impacted Huangpu Tianyuan's face, stomping down hard enough to crack something. Going by those sounds, Huangpu Tianyuan put up all 4 claws, but nothing had any damn use in stopping it. He kissed the ground so hard the shock wave engulfed the battlefield. Many experts spat blood from it. Taking some much-needed safety distance, the dust rose and covered both of them. As the dust settled, light showed a horrifying scene. Zhuofan's right arm had turned into a 100-meter-tall blood-red pillar. It stood upright and tall as it held up the sky. Zhuofan was so tiny next to it, making the contrast sharper on how a human being could release such a pillar. Shadow King's side was dumbstruck. Just when they thought they'd seen it all, Zhuofan had to get freakier with an even crazier move. That's what he meant by stomping. He has a 3rd leg. But what kind of savage beast has such power? Staring at the 7th level spiritual beast wings on Zhuofan's back and at the hoofed right arm, it got them wondering. How many inhuman parts does he have? Monster. They all thought of it, gulped and shook with fear. Fan was still within the limits of a human monster up till now, but he had gone beyond with this display. No one there took this conclusion as a good thing. Drifting Flowers edifices, Veiled Dragon Pavilion, and Sword Marquis abode jumped in fright, albeit happy at the reversal. He finally had the upper hand against the 9 dragons' diamond body. His advantage was directly proportionate with their odds at winning this war. Yuan Shan's side slumped, their hearts a mess. Just a minute ago, they were hollering that Huangpu Tianyuan had surpassed the freaky Zhua Fan, only to find out that Zhua Fan was in fact a human-faced monster. How do you top that? You can go full Earth Dragon for all I care. You still can't take even one of his hits. Yuan Shan's side found their earlier confidence maybe just a tiny bit premature. Every single move of Zhua Fan is filled with mystery and tricks. You can't take him down so easily. Zhua Fan had better things to do than to mind them, like smiling evilly. The Qilin legs stuck deeper into the ground, compressing hundreds of meters into a mere dozen. Yuan Shan and Regent Estate's venerables felt like crying unknown, as was the fate of their estate lord under that hoof. But now they wondered if there'd even be a corpse left. If you go on trampling anymore, we won't even find a bone left. That's just barbaric. Zhua Fan's belief was that true ruthlessness grasped certain victory crack. Zhua Fan just kept on pushing, snapping the bedrock like twigs. Each sound only helped drive fear and dread into Yuan Shan and allies. Drifting Flowers edifices side was glad Zhua Fan had made a comeback, but even they found it hard to see him still going at it. Dude, take it easy. Do you have to turn him into a bone meal? Zhua Fan's capacity for cruelty was only in relation to Huangpu Tianyuan's danger. He wouldn't leave the enemy the slightest chance. He had to finish him off. This ought to do it. Zhua Fan's arm glowed red and returned to being an innocent arm peering into the hole. He was speechless. The bedrock was turned to powder under the Qilin leg's power, and a man everyone knew rested in the middle of all the sand. Albeit cracked all over, with blood leaking, it was safe to say that he was barely breathing. He's still alive despite Qilin leg's full power? Zhua Fan gasped. Everyone had witnessed the might of the Qilin leg, and now they bore testament to the tough 9 dragons' diamond body. The guy's freaking tough. Cough. Blood spewed with every motion, from his nose and mouth, ears and eyes. But Huangpu Tianyuan got his feet under him, laughing. Zhua Fan, I definitely didn't see that one coming. My 9 dragons' diamond body has reached this step with the help of Bodhi Root. It's not just tough, but unbreakable. Huangpu Tianyuan made a sign and barked. 9 dragons' diamond body, 8th dragon soul transformation, returning dragon's roar. Roar. Under the shocked looks of everyone, a green dragon soul shot out of his body and roared as it circled above him. Green lights fell upon him, healing him to perfection, not even leaving a scar as the scales knit back together when the dragon soul returned back inside. He was now the very picture of health. Zhua Fan's eyes trembled in shock. The ascending dragon fused with the Bodhi root and gets this bastard back to full health every time he's damaged. Adding that tough body into the mix, and you'd have an indestructible killing machine. Zhua Fan frowned. Shadow King's side was keyed up. Huangpu Tianyuan's outrageous power blew their minds. How were they going to beat that? Even if Santong steps in, not even he can do anything. With this old monster healing back whenever, no one can beat him. Fang Chubai shook his head. What about the other 2 divine dragons? Can they do it? Shadow King said, all I know is that they can handle Santong, but cannot kill him. I reckon Huangpu Tianyuan falls in the same category. As long as there's a way, we'll just think about killing him later. Sima Hui muttered. Huangpu Tianyuan stretched his limbs and taunted Zhua Fan above. Yet the man was calm and cool. Zhua Fan's eyes flashed and he punched with his right arm again. Since I have no way to finish him off yet, I'll stall him. Torturing him is better than nothing. And who knows, maybe a way to kill him will come out of it. Classic delaying tactic. First bind the enemy, then get some time to think. It was such an obvious choice that even Huangpu Tianyuan could see it. So he retaliated with a flick of his tail and jumped out. Boom. Zhua Fan's legs smashed the ground, but not Huangpu Tianyuan. Frowning, Zhua Fan sighed inside. And of course it never goes as planned. He only got Huangpu Tianyuan the first time because of how close they were and having the element of surprise, but Huangpu Tianyuan was a fast learner. He had to keep some distance, and that speed of his was enough to stay clear. What was even worse was that Huangpu Tianyuan wasn't a cocky old coot like he acted, but was cautious instead. The worst enemy was a cautious one. Zhuo Fan sighed, coming out empty with the enemy on guard. Left Zhuo Fan in truly dire straits. Case in point, he didn't have the time to take back his Qilin leg as a bloody maw came from behind. Zhuo Fan, now it's my turn. Ha ha ha. Chapter 449, Qilin Shield. Chapter 449, Qilin Shield. With a roar of laughter, a sharp sound came from behind Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan used his left arm to fend it off as his right arm returned to normal size for receiving the next blow. Zhuo Fan's red hand was now holding a tail, but he wasn't out of the woods yet, as Huangpu Tianyuan's second claw came for him. With both hands busy and being unable to use Divine Eye of the Void at such short notice, Zhuo Fan resorted to using his wings as a cover rip. The Earth Dragon's claw pierced them like paper, soaking him in blood. Zhuo Fan's brow trembled with pain, yet he was covered with sweat. At least the Sea Phantom wings were from a 7th-level spiritual beast and were tough enough to hold the Earth Dragon's claw back. With the both of them, Zhuo Fan's wings trembled, giving his all to resist. Huangpu Tianyuan opened his mouth as the claws and tail struggled in their confinements. Zhuo Fan needed the slightest distraction, and his head would roll. The sight of Zhuo Fan getting pushed back got everyone tense. He couldn't do anything but be on the receiving end. It was hard to believe Huangpu Tianyuan was just that strong with his 9 dragons diamond body. Zhuo Fan was only in the profound heaven stage, and even his 2 beast arms weren't enough to save him from a hard time. Blast it. I can only retreat. Zhuo Fan sighed, not liking it one bit as his eyes shined golden. Huangpu Tianyuan could see it clear as day that he wanted to hightail away from the battle with Zhuo Fan's cunning. Falling for his tricks once was bad enough. He had to finish him off now. When he had the upper hand, who knew what this guy might cook up the next time around? Zhuo Fan was weak here and now, but his endless bag of tricks made him unpredictable. If by some miracle he escapes this time, it'd be even harder to beat him next time, and he needed to deal with Zhuo Fan fast. There was the Imperial family to consider as well. Leaving Zhuo Fan alive now would be cutting his own feet in his fight with the Imperial family. This has to end now. Huangpu Tianyuan's eyes flashed with bloodlust, making even Zhuo Fan shiver, but that wasn't important, as the golden halo in his eye promised safety. Ha ha ha. Huangpu Tianyuan, since I can't beat you, we'll be sure to meet again. Zhuo Fan snickered as he poofed away. The ripple was faint, and where a peak radiant stage expert might fail to pick it up, a 9 dragons diamond body could. His creepy ears flinched, and Huangpu Tianyuan mocked, Hi, fat chance, Zhuo Fan. 9 dragons diamond body, Earth Dragon Wave. Roar. Huangpu Tianyuan howled at a spot 1,000 meters away. A beam of yellow shot from his maw. Just as Zhuo Fan appeared, panting, Zhuo Fan cried inside, but it was too late. Boom. The explosion shone bright, and Zhuo Fan caught the yellow pillar right in his chest. He paid a summary visit to the bowls of 5 mountains before being buried under their rubble. There was so much dust that it formed a hurricane. It soon cleared and revealed everything in ruins. A red trail came out of the rocks like a bloody spring and robbed any hope of Zhuo Fan being alive. Steward Zhuo, Qiu Yinhai, and the rest panicked. Drifting Flowers Edifices and Veiled Dragon Pavilion were also worried. Huangpu Tianyuan mocked, Dragon Vein Soul is a guardian spirit of the lands. Since I train in the 9 dragons diamond body and am also in the Earth Dragon form, I can pick up any changes in the area. Messing with space around me is like painting a target on your back. That Earth Dragon Wave is my true power. Not even the Earth Dragon Claw can handle it, to say nothing of getting hit squarely in the chest. He's dead beyond any doubt. Huangpu Tianyuan is invincible. Yuan Shan's side cheered while the Luo clan paled, their hopes seeping out of them like the blood from those rocks. Huangpu Tianyuan's declaration wasn't just to brag. Steward Zhuo had the worst luck this time, but without him, what were they supposed to do? Despair set in faster than they could accept it. Huangpu Tianyuan only had eyes for Zhuo Fan. To a peak radiant stage expert, only he mattered. The rest were mere flies. As long as Zhuo Fan died, everything else would be foregone conclusion. He had a firm grasp at victory already. Fang Qiubai sighed, lamenting and shaking their heads. A mighty character like Zhuo Fan ended up getting one shot by Huangpu Tianyuan. This power is outrageous. Sima Hui watched the monster with fierce Shadow King side. 9 Dragons Diamond Body having a tough body was bad enough, but with the Bodhi root, he's invincible. He's worse than Goose Santong. I wonder if those two and I can fight him off. Senior, that's not all. When Goose Santong wrecked Tianyu, he did it alone. His fists were too few to handle so many and ended up limited. But Huangpu Tianyuan wants the world. He has both an army and power. It will be far harder than Goose Santong. Fang Qiubai said. The others considered and sighed again. The battlefield turned quiet, with all fighting stopped and everyone turned towards Huangpu Tianyuan, either in fear or joy or respect. But to Huangpu Tianyuan, neither allies nor enemies mattered ever since killing Zhuo Fan. He understood one thing from those worshipping gazes. Allies or enemies meant nothing. Only ultimate power mattered. With enough power, no one could touch him. With enough power, no one would question him. Ha ha ha. Laughing, Huangpu Tianyuan flew to Zhuo Fan's tomb, roaring, Zhuo Fan, it's time you return the last dragon soul. I want to reach the ethereal stage, becoming the first in Tianyu. Before reaching the mound, a wave from the rubble caught him first. Huangpu Tianyuan halted. Looking in the sky, Zhuo Fan, how are you still alive? Zhuo Fan was up there the next moment, albeit pale, bloody, and out of breath. His chest sported an extra large hole, as well. How convenient that it never went through him completely. He was only heavily wounded, but still alive. Qiu Yinhai's side Zhuo Fan's very existence kept hope alive. What trick did you pull? That Earth Dragon wave had the power of 8 dragon souls. Those hands might have saved you, but anywhere else it hits, it'd run through you and blast you apart. Even if you used the 2 arms to defend, the shock would have wrecked your body. How is it that you're barely wounded? Huangpu Tianyuan cried. Foul. Zhuo Fan snickered. Humph. While you have the Earth Dragon wave, I have the Qilin shield. Don't think you can write me off in one hit? Zhuo Fan looked at the red glow over him in joy. As luck had it, from refining the Qilin arm into his body, it even released a red shield. It was the same red cover he saw back in Lightning Canyon. The soaring Qilin's defense, with how not even Heavenly Emperor's purple lightning could pierce it. How could anything else? Zhuo Fan was badly hurt by the impact with the Earth Dragon wave, and not the subsequent shocks, or he'd be in pieces by now. Zhuo Fan sure was glad that he made the trip to Lightning Canyon. Huangpu Tianyuan's eyes grew savage. Zhuo Fan was playing too close to the now hollow chest, with too many skills. Dread started pouring in. Thinking of the future, Zhuo Fan snickered. This round is yours. We'll be seeing ya. His wings carried his broken body away. Huangpu Tianyuan roared after him. Where do you think you're going? Your head stays right here. The two were gone in a blink. The battlefield was filled with dumb faces. With the commanders gone, what are we supposed to do? Lung Wucheng shouted all of a sudden. Damn it, it's Zhuo Fan's trick. Fall back. Chapter 450. Poisoners Collide. Chapter 450. Poisoners Collide. What's wrong, Sirlong? The enemy's morale is weakened. How can we retreat now? Yuan Shan asked. Lung Wucheng's mood was heavy, pondering before speaking. I am not too clear myself, but this situation reminds me of the fight in the esoteric debate. The House Lord's heart seized. You can also feel it, right? Zhuo Fan was on the ropes, with no way out, but we all know how that turned out. Lung Wucheng's heart thumped. Yuan Shan stood dumbstruck and fearful, turning utter defeat into complete victory. Sirlong, are you saying this time as well? He know? He's clearly wounded, defenseless, routed. Yuan Shan refused to believe, but still droned, though the same happened to him in the esoteric debate. No, he had it far worse then. Yet he still won, breaking Huangpu Qingtian's team and torturing them to death. Sirlong, do you mean today's defeat is a trap? Yin Bagong shuddered. Since the esoteric debate, Zhuo Fan's savagery had left him traumatized. In any case like this one, the enemy was left for dead, waiting for them to take their head. But everyone knew Zhuo Fan was an anomaly. As long as there was breath in his body, anything could happen. They've seen it far too many times, how Zhuo Fan flipped the tables in the worst cases, in ways imaginable. Long Wucheng sighed. I am not sure. The kid is one of the few I can't see through. But one thing is certain, Zhuo Fan was defeated today. But even so, he fled. This is a trap to lure the tiger. Everyone shuddered and looked at the two armies. Without Huangpu Tianyuan to back them, they were losing ground in this war. They would end up defeated with both sides' experts around the same level. Only Luo clan's fiends stood apart. Not to mention the power couple could waste a region estate venerable in a blink. Each while the 4 scheming demons could keep 20 of them busy and suffering if the fight started. They would have heavy casualties. And even if Huangpu Tianyuan made a lucky return, they would only get a bitter victory, and to think that they still had to fight the imperial family, they all found it not worth it. The house lords glanced at Long Wuchang and nodded, but they had to get the Luo clan's approval first. Qiao Yinhai and Xue Qingjian showed a creepy smile. Qiao Yinhai roared, brothers and allies of the Luo clan, together now. Let's crush them. Elder Qiao, our morale is low. How grandmother cried. Xue Qingjian waved. They say Lady of Steel fears nothing. So why are you so shaky? Don't you see? With the superpowers gone from each camp, the situation is in our favor. Even if it's a bitter victory, it's still a victory. Hi. Grandmother looked at everyone to find it was true. She and the other house lord were too caught up in their despair over Zhuo Fan's loss to see with fresh eyes. With those 2 freaks out of the mix, they were the strongest. Grandmother eyed her allies. Was it Steward Zhuo's plan? The 2 looked at each other, then nodded. The couple was out of the loop, just as well though. Zhuo Fan would never do things half-measured. His loss had to be real, but that wasn't the issue here. Instead, turning it into a chance at victory, something Zhuo Fan gave them to get their spirits up. The power couple had to say it's Zhuo Fan's idea. Grandmother and company got fired up. They fell for Steward Zhuo's trap. Attack. Roar. The depressed Luo clan faction perked up on the fly and roared in a war. The losing side would technically be down in the dumps, but led to believe it was all part of Zhuo Fan's ingenious and foolproof scheme. And reminded of his sly character, none took his defeat as real and stormed the enemy. The enemy froze, like sitting ducks. Does that mean we fell for his trap? Regent Estate's side turned to the powers that be. But they were now listening to Long Wuchang's conjecture. They knew it was not like Qiao Yinhai painted it. So how can they still get their spirits up? Those leaders joined them in putting on the same dumbstruck face. Regent Estate faction's morale hit rock bottom, with some even believing that the estate lord was now Zhuo Fan's punching bag in a convoluted scheme of his estate lord was tough, but nothing could stand Zhuo Fan's freaky mind games. Wasn't the eldest young master toyed to death in a 4-versus-1 battle? Everyone paled, their hearts sinking and losing all hope while the other side was roaring to go. Looking at them like a bunch of sheeps waiting for the axe to fall. Yuan Shan cursed. For God's sake, how the hell did it come to this? It's too late to fall back now. They'll hunt us down. It's better to fight. Is Estate Lord Huangpu so dull as to not see such a simple trick? Yeah, how did he get duped by such an old trick? Long Wuchang sighed, but he knew the truth. Huangpu Tianyuan was never duped, but was only taking a calculated risk. Zhuo Fan was a bigger threat than the fate of this battle. Regent Estate's experts might die here today, but as long as Zhuo Fan fell, it was a win in his book. He was overconfident in his 9 dragons diamond body, thinking of himself as unstoppable. Estate Lord, has the taste of victory gone to your head? Did you forget about Gu Santong 300 years ago? Long Wuchang sighed. The armies clashed. Rainbow Cloud Palm. Yin Bagong in the lead unleashed his poison mist to gain the advantage, but his efforts were met with another poison mist from the Luo clan. Pushing it back, 9 poison fantasy palm. Yin Song roared. The mist vanished and appeared every now and then, making defense useless. It not only absorbed the rainbow cloud palm, but even poisoned many experts, to the point that even Radiant stage experts took a breath of it at some point, getting their power cut. What poison art is that? Yin Bagong stammered. Yin Song snickered. Hall Lord, time sure flies, eh? Do you perhaps find Steward was 9 poison fantasy palm a bit stronger than Pill King Hall's rainbow cloud palm? Damn traitor. You dare show your face to me? Yin Bagong cursed. Yin Song grinned. Yin Bagong, I never fought you out of respect, but after leaving Pill King Hall, how did you treat my disciple? Today, we'll settle all debts. Debt? The both of you are Pill King Hall's traitors. I will kill you where you stand and cleanse my house. Yin Bagong shot for Yin Song, who did the same. Boom. 2 palms clashed and the poison spread so far that everyone moved 1,000 meters away. They knew the rainbow cloud palm all too well and had no trouble dodging it, but in 9 poison fantasy palms case, With its endless variations, it was impossible to defend all 81 poisons from seeping in. In seconds, Yin Bagong was riddled with 5 colored spots, poisoned and in pain as a fellow poisoner. He knew the hellish power this move had, but with how this move was stronger than Pill King Hall's, along with its eerie movements, he failed to stay clear, ending up losing power as he was poisoned. The more he fought, the worse it got, and the tears welled. Where the hell did Yin Song get this art? Wasn't Pill King Hall the best in Tianyu when it comes to poison and pills? His face fell as he recalled every Luo clan's expert's unique and amazing art. Yin Bagong knew Zhuo Fan was a monster. Is he a living library, or what? How the hell does he come up with so many cultivation methods, and even a poison one at that? A damn conniving deceiver. Yin Bagong cursed as his face fell. He knew the poison ran deep within him. Chapter 451. The Turning Specialist. Chapter 451. The Turning Specialist. The armies smashed into each other like floods. The side who pushed the other, who pressed their momentum, would soon gain control over the entire battlefield, a role most suited to a poisoner. Especially when it came to wars, Zhuo Fan looked down on poisoners, saying that they were useless in a battle of experts. But when it came to culling, no one was better at it, and in a battle like this, a poisoner was a force to be reckoned with, a veritable Grim Reaper doing his job as God intended. Yin Bagong knew of his importance, wishing to use this chance to showcase his power, but against the traitorous Yin Song. His chance was gone, and he had instead suffered from poisoning himself. In a cruel twist of irony, it only worked to shame him further. The great Hall Lord using poison to kill others was now being served the same coin. And Yin Song's poison wasn't limited to affecting him, but Regent Estate factions experts en masse. If he pulled back now, there'd be nothing left of his name to speak of. Yuan Shan watched the poison mist as he retreated. A dozen Radiant stage experts, confident in their strength, pushed through it to take Yin Song down. He had to die for their army to survive. Luo clan's power couple entered the scene midway, pushing these oldies back with miserable faces, and that wasn't even half of it. What got them so wretched and wishing they could tear the two piece by piece was that Luo clan in its entirety had inherited Zhuo Fan's expert turning skills. With the fall of Hell Valley, Pill King Hall, and Merry Woods, Luo clan had bolstered their elder ranks with every fallen house. The venerables and elders who did not crack under Zhuo Fan's masterful silver-tongued promises ended up as an example for those who did, but some stragglers were bound to have escaped the destruction of the houses and returned to their house lords. It was all good and well, so far, with these new elders being quite close to each other, and Yin Song's poison to clear a path. Once Luo clan had the upper hand, they'd follow Zhuo Fan's vile plan into striking their hearts, and not chase a vanquished enemy when push came to shove. These experts would choose self-destruction, and that would have been a far worse scenario. So before the war started, Zhuo Fan taught them to target their minds, appeal to their compassion and friendship. The best plan so far. And so, within the cruel battlefield, some very touching and sappy reunions cropped up in remote corners. Brother, why you turned over to Luo clan? Hell Valley's third venerable looked at the other in shock. I thought Zhuo Fan had you killed 3. The ex-high venerable of Hell Valley sighed. It's a long story. All in all, we're with the Luo clan now. Zhuo Fan is a tyrant, but as long as you don't anger him, he is quite the respect for us. And he even welcomed us with cultivation methods the likes of which Tianyu has never seen. We are certain that in 50 years we can enter the ethereal stage. What? The third venerable stood dumbstruck. Brother, didn't you say there's no chance for us to reach it with our talent? Ha ha ha, that was earlier, with Hell Valley's limited resources. But after getting to know the Luo clan, I realized that those 7 noble houses are nothing but ignorant whelps. Luo clan has a far bigger legacy than even the imperial family. There are rare ingredients piled up in mountains in countless rings. Vicious Pill King Yin Song's only job is to take some alchemy disciples and bake in the pill house. They even use 6th-grade ingredients to raise the success of making just 3rd-grade pills, 100,000 of them. A true waste, such money bags. High Venerable praised 3rd Venerable was stunned. Why is a 3rd-rate clan so awesome? With their stuff, no one in Tianyu can compare. It's like they've harvested the nation for 1,000 years. High Venerable turned serious. Old 3rd, We each have our lords. I hate for being the one to hurt you, brother, and can only present you with 3 choices. Leave and live in seclusion far away from here. Stay and I will have no choice but to fight you. Or join Luo clan and live together with your brothers. That third venerable was conflicted. Since you do not want to join us, I can only hope you'd leave. We 4 have worked together for so many years. I'd hate to see my brother's bloody face. High Venerable shook his head. Third Venerable waved all over the place. Oh, no, no, no. Elder brother, you're wrong. I just want to ask, are you for real? Third Venerable's eyes shone with greed. Of course. Have I ever lied to you in all these years? High Venerable stuck his head out. Old Third, Zhuofan is a master tactician and already has a plan in place to handle everything. Did you really think Regent Estate was going to win? Look around you. Luo clan is on a constant rise. Even if Huangpu Tianyuan is strong, he is chasing his grave. There will only ever be Zhuofan in this world. He has destroyed all houses in Tianyu, even his allies. High Venerable whispered, Steward has set up the Luo clan as the biggest, making it the supreme power in Tianyu. I am not going to lie to you. Come, join us as a new elder. This will be your only chance. What? A single power? Zhuofan has such ambition? Third Venerable pondered and nodded. Elder brother, I wish not to ruin our brotherhood and can only hope to stand by your side as we make history. Good, Old Third. I expected nothing less. High Venerable grabbed his palm, taking a vial from his back with a bloodworm inside. Brother, to enter Luo clan, you must take this bloodworm. Third Venerable found it improper, but from High Venerable's stern look, this was no game, recalling again the promise of resources from Luo clan. The Third Venerable swallowed it. High Venerable laughed, going together on a nice little trip to Regent Estate to murder the rest of them. The same exchange happened all over the place. Saying it's out of brotherhood when the dangling bait was just too damn good. These guys were homeless anyway. They didn't even have time to worry about resources. Along came the Luo clan, extending its gold-plated hand. Who in their right mind would refuse it? As an extra proof of sincerity, it came from old pals. The battle was a few hours in when Yuanshan and the other lords found something strange. What are the venerables and elders doing, slaughtering their way over? Wasn't it a bit early to come back? And why are there so many of them? Taking a good deal of time to process this, they all came to one conclusion: fall back. Much of a war this turned out to be. The enemy didn't come to kill us, but to turn us. How could they win now? All that was left was for them to turn as well. Long Wuchang sighed. Zhuofan's psychological warfare is otherworldly. Just what did he use to achieve it? There must be something off about this to get so many in such a short time. Back to Regent Estate. We'll think about it then. Lung Wuchang shouted to his faction. Luo clan was hot on their tail. Shadow King's trio watched the odd war with dumb faces. What the hell? What did Luo clan do to them? Isn't it too fast? Shadow King was flabbergasted. Feng Qiubai sighed. If you're looking for a specialist in turning experts, go to Wingay City's Luo clan and find Zhuofan. Shadow King's face twitched. Even with Zhuofan away, everything still played by his rules. Regent Estate's victory was based on Huangpu Tianyuan's 9 dragons diamond body alone, while Zhuofan had some tactical counters in place besides just himself. To put it another way, this trick of his had a heavier impact than his strength in this aspect. Zhuofan had Lung Wuchang beat by miles, again using himself as bait. Feng Qiubai sighed. Zhuofan used the same tactic in the esoteric debate with flying colors. While now, he has caught Lung Wuchang unprepared, his schemes working at full power even while he is away. He won in every aspect. In your opinion, was his defeat fake? Shadow King looked at the sky. Then he must have a way to deal with Huangpu. I'm really curious about what can possibly hold 9 dragons diamond body in check. Zhuofan's final rivals may very well be us. Feng Qiubai and Sima Hui nodded while flying away to watch the events play out. Chapter 452, Little Qilin's Support. Chapter 452, Little Qilin's Support. Whoosh! A flash of red dotted the sky every now and then. In sync with Zhuofan's right eye's golden glow, right behind him was a yellow light, just missing him with each jump, but so fast that no one could identify what it was. Zhuofan appeared a mile away, just to see the same yellow light on his trail. He gnashed his teeth, spat blood a few times, and went right back to running. Fan kept popping up every mile, but no matter what he did, he just couldn't shake his yellow tail. Huangpu Tianyuan was right behind him 3 whole days. That was how long the two played around. Fan's chest hole was still leaking, his face whiter than paper. Yet he never stopped shifting, not even to catch a breath. Even a minute delay would have that freak tearing him a new one. Fan shook his head. His only gripe with 9 Dragons' diamond body was its capacity to get Huangpu Tianyuan to the ethereal stage once all 9 dragon souls were together. Now that would spell doom for even him. Thus, he just let the old guy have those 8 dragons, reaching peak radiant stage, while thinking that no matter how strong he got, he would be no match for the sacred beast Qilin's leg with tangible projection. The Qilin arm would be like a strike from the heavens, smashing everything, if not killing him outright. Reality confirmed this truth as well. Huangpu Tianyuan laid twisted under the Qilin leg even with the 9 dragons' diamond body, but out of Fan's calculations, the Bodhi root was integrated in the 9 dragons' diamond body to use that returning dragon shtick, and it let him get right back in action. It made his body truly invincible and even left Fan speechless on how to counter it. Huangpu Tianyuan didn't give him room to work his brain either, counterattacking and turning this into Fan's second life's second loss. First was Goose Santong. Of course, Fan had to admit he had come short of 9 dragons' diamond body. And even though he did lose, it did not mean defeat, as the ill-reputed steward of Luo clan directed his allies like a conductor. No one could stand up to those twisted and vile schemes of his. So when this chase was the only option left, he said to hell with honor and left the battlefield in the hands of his most capable peons. He was totally convinced, based on Luo clan's experts and those enticing tricks, that the region estate would fall. Tricks only effective if Huangpu Tianyuan was out of the picture, even if momentarily. Otherwise, the old bag of diamond bones would have been a beacon of hope, and the turning would have to be cut short. Who wouldn't be afraid of this freak breaking their melon? Certainly not a fresh trader. Fan just had to get Huangpu Tianyuan away for his devious plan to work. But was the great estate lord Huangpu gonna take the bait? Just like that? Yep. Fan was that certain. For starters, after beating Fan, his confidence in his strength exploded to new unseen heights. With Fan's seminal value for Luo clan's victory, if he was dead, Luo clan would be done for. If Fan was around, no matter how ruined Luo clan would become, or how many times it was beaten, it would still be like grass in spring, sprouting from God knew where, with more power than ever. It was only a matter of time. Huangpu Tianyuan could not let that happen. Fan's badly wounded state was the best chance to take him out for good. Secondly, Fan was just too damn bright, hiding Luo clan's glow. Each time Region Estate faced Fan, they had suffered great losses, to the point that all of Region Estate believed that this war was in fact a fight against Fan alone. If he'd wrecked Huangpu Tianyuan back there, he would have been leading the goddamn attack by now instead of running around the place. Fan shook his head and sighed. Staggering in his flight, Huangpu Tianyuan had given him far greater damage than he had accounted for. I wonder if I can hold on for Plan B to complete. Fan looked ahead and took a deep breath, cough. Just a bit more. Fan's right eye flashed again, just as the yellow light behind him whistled close, and he felt his head hurt in pain from the sound of the attack. Fan blocked with his arms. Bam! He slammed into the rocky ground, and in his place was a savage dragon's tail. Ha ha ha, Fan. After a 3-day-long chase, you're finally out of steam. Fan pulled himself from the pile of rocks, out of breath. Just 20 more miles and I would have made it. But getting away now? Fan squinted, noticing his enemy's fixed gaze for any movements, and sighed. It was hard getting out now with his beaten body. But giving himself over was never part of Fan's style. Huangpu Tianyuan, did you know that I played you? Your men are being killed just about now. Fan mocked. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed. Fan, your life is worth 1,000 armies. If they lost because of Luo clan, it only proves they're useless. And I don't take kindly to dead weights around here. But if you die, there'll be no one to stop me. Be it Luo clan or the 7 houses, none will matter at that point. Ha ha ha. Huangpu Tianyuan's sharp eyes glinted, and he shot for Fan with his claws out. Humph, where's that Qilin shield? My claw is about to take your heart. Can your shield take it? Fan gnashed his teeth, straining to even lift his arms. He only had the beast arms to rely on, but those hands of his only trembled, sighing inside. Zhuo Fan knew he was on the brink of collapse from his wounds. Not even his arms could take an attack now. Huangpu Tianyuan was excited. Zhuo Fan, today's your funeral. Cut the bull, I won't die here. Zhuo Fan dredged the last bit of energy to cross his arms. Huangpu Tianyuan smirked, putting more power in his attack, his eyes trembling in joy. The great hero Zhuo Fan, having rained havoc in Tianyu for a decade, would find his end at his hands. For him, who was about to establish his own dynasty, it was the greatest feat of strength. The collision was imminent. Unless that red glow coming in from far had something to say about it, it smacked Huangpu Tianyuan away into a hill a mile away, breaking it to pieces. Once his head popped out from the rubble, he saw a pint-sized figure next to Zhuo Fan. His eyes widened, and he shouted, "Invincible scamp, Gu Santong?" Zhuo Fan laughed at the timely rescue. "My life stays with me still. Old Huangpu, you loach, I can't take you down, but this little Qilin of mine will bury you. Ha ha." Chapter 453, Gu Santong's Awesome Power. Chapter 453, Gu Santong's Awesome Power. Hearing the free laughter from Zhuo Fan, Gu Santong turned to him, enraged at how close he was to the door of death. "Dad, who did this to you? Didn't you say we're going to ambush him? I've been waiting for ages. Figured you were done with him, and came here to check, but now I see." Zhuo Fan sighed. "A miscalculation. The main plan was to cut him off if he fled. But his strength exceeded my expectations, and I had to resort to a new contingency, as in, to have you deal with him. But be careful. Don't worry, Dad. Since you've asked for help, I will not disappoint." Gu Santong was fired up, turning a stone-cold face towards Huangpu Tianyuan. Huangpu Tianyuan's face twitched, and he shivered. Gu Santong was number one in all of Tianyu, his name echoing through the last 3 centuries that no one alive could catch up to. His power was otherworldly, so much so that not even with 9 Dragons' diamond body was he confident to take the kid on. Gu Santong and Zhuo Fan were somebodies to be careful around. He had planned on taking them down one at a time, starting with the cunning Zhuo Fan. Gu Santong was outrageously strong, but naive. Once Zhuo Fan fell, he'd finish Gu Santong the same way as last time. With numbers, how was he supposed to know that just when he was about to put Zhuo Fan's head on a pike, Gu Santong would show up? If they teamed up, he'd be worse for wear. Huangpu Tianyuan shouted, "Gu Santong, weren't you ordered to take down the traitor Zhuo Fan? I was just about to take his life, helping you as well. Why then did you save him instead?" "Bullshit. He's my dad. What son out there would help someone kill his dad? Humph. You freak of nature dares to hurt my dad, and I will get you for this." Gu Santong waved his tiny fist. Huangpu Tianyuan jerked. "What? Why you mean, Zhuo Fan is your father? That's impossible. A godfather is still a father. Got a problem with that?" Gu Santong snorted. That cleared it all up for Huangpu Tianyuan, but it also worked to put him in a heavy mood. He couldn't for the life of him figure out how Zhuo Fan pulled it off, getting this little menace to become his godson if they teamed up. Nothing could stand up to them in Tianyu. More importantly, since when? With Zhuo Fan's guile, he'd be keeping it hidden and cook up a scheme to make Gu Santong chase him when he fell out of grace with the imperial family. Huangpu Tianyuan felt a chill run all over him. If he knew Zhuo Fan even a bit, he was sure the guy would keep his aces hidden for the best occasions. With how everyone scrambled for power, just when he thought he had the lands in his control, this bastard Zhuo Fan ought to be gone from the picture with Gu Santong on his tail, but in fact made a tactical retreat to build his forces, and this sudden change would make the enemies underestimate Zhuo Fan and fall for his trick in the "know yourself and your enemy, and you shall be ever victorious." Zhuo Fan had one-upped everyone by hiding Gu Santong away. Huangpu Tianyuan gasped at the implications. Thanks to his lucky stars, he had discovered it before it was too late to suffer at this insidious killer move. He still had the power to turn it around. Huangpu Tianyuan cooled, bloodthirst seethed, and with Zhuo Fan down from his wounds, all that was left was Gu Santong. He just had to beat Gu Santong, and he'd have taken 2 thorns out like nothing. Huangpu Tianyuan's tension flowed out of him, and he started rejoicing. The prospects of taking 2 big shots heads off were looking up, finishing off Luo clan and imperial family in one strike. Ha ha ha, Gu Santong. I've heard of your almighty power and wish to try it out for myself. Now that there's chaos all around us, Allow me to take that invincible title off of you. Huangpu Tunyuan laughed. Gu Santong mocked. Humph, quite the pair you have there. In the last 3 centuries, there's been no one as stuck up as you to come talking to me. You 2-bit vermin, wait for me to twist your head. Young Sanzi, his 9 dragons diamond body is tough. Keep in mind, Zhuofan advised, but Gu Santong was already off, totally taking the other guy for granted. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed. Bam. The claw and fist collided, shaking the ground around them. The shockwave leveled anything within a mile. Huangpu Tianyuan staggered back 10 steps, while Gu Santong only 5. Startled, it was his first time being pushed back when dishing punches. Huangpu Tianyuan was shuddering inside. Having newfound knowledge of the extent of Invincible Scamp's power with 9 dragons diamond body's power backing him, he only got Gu Santong a few steps back. If it were Zhuofan, the guy'd be blown away into rubble somewhere by now. Huangpu Tianyuan looked for a way to deal with him. Gu Santong couldn't accept it. He had just used 80% of his power and yet was still pushed back. Unlike the time he played around with Zhuofan, Gu Santong lifted his cute face and shouted, again. Gu Santong and Huangpu Tianyuan clashed, but this time around, Huangpu Tianyuan didn't take the fist head-on. His claw attack was a feint, jumping back and avoiding the fist while retaliating with his tail at Gu Santong's back. Gu Santong frowned, flying into a hill and reshaping the landscape. Ha ha ha, against my tail. Even if you're the invincible scamp, you'd still end up bruised. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed at the pile of rubble. Zhuofan's eyelids twitched, shaking his head. It wasn't that easy injuring young Sanzi, because he was a sacred beast. But with his simple mind and simple attacks, it was equally simple to whip him. Gu Santong jumped out of the rubble, feeling his back. Ow, that hurt like hell. Blast it, how did he do that? And why is it so hard? Raising his clothes and looking behind him, Gu Santong was unable to see any wound and could only feel around. At least it's not an open wound. What he didn't see, Huangpu Tianyuan did. Staring at his back with a gloomy look, his eyes were popping out. He just used all he had in that lashing, enough to split Zhuofan in 2. But Gu Santong didn't even have his skin peeled, only a light imprint. What kind of freak is this kid? Huangpu Tianyuan's confidence in beating him hit rock bottom before one was to defeat another. You'd best be able to harm him first. But he couldn't do even that. Huangpu Tianyuan felt like a 3-year-old in front of a buffed uncle. His tiny fist could do nothing against that tower of muscle. Zhuofan snickered inside. Gu Santong's strength was innate, used to handle everything with his 2 fists, so while Huangpu Tianyuan had no chance to beat him, he did not have the brains to keep Huangpu Tianyuan here either. He reminded him, young Sanzi, this guy just called you an idiot for falling for his whip like a kid. He just doesn't know fear. As if, when did I ever say that? Huangpu Tianyuan glared. He knew Zhuofan was playing dirty, to instigate a bigger conflict as young Sanzi's godfather. Of course he'd believe his dad over another. His face steeled and snorted. I'm an idiot? Huangpu Tianyuan gulped, racking his brain for a way out. His eyes lit up. Since claws and tail didn't work, he'd use secret arts. This freak has no weakness. While Gu Santong was firing up his rage, Huangpu Tianyuan shouted, Earth Dragon Wave. Roar. A yellow glow shot for Gu Santong, but the kid just stood there, shining all red. Bam. Earth Dragon Wave slammed into him, but the scene made the other bug-eyed. Gu Santong took the attack and didn't budge an inch. In fact, he was walking towards Huangpu Tianyuan, against the godly might of the 8 dragon souls. He pushed them all back like nothing. Huangpu Tianyuan was dumbstruck. This is insane. The kid is a true monster. Chapter 454, Original Form. Chapter 454, Original Form. You old bag of bones, who are you calling an idiot? Gu Santong stomped the ground with every step, shuddering his heart each time. As for the yellow beam, it got smaller and smaller. Huangpu Tianyuan's mouth was wide open. Words stuck in his throat. Gu Santong roared, trembled, and the red light exploded from him. The Earth Dragon Wave just bounced away like a soccer ball. Boom. With a rattling explosion, the attack returned to Huangpu Tianyuan's mouth, throwing him sky high in a spectacular fashion. Kissing the ground hard once more, his dragon jaw was gone, leaving behind a black hole giving off a thick black smoke. Santong flicked his arm in disdain at the tittering figure. Vermin. I can use my head, but there's no one in this world worthy of me doing so. Humph. Tyrannical. Zhuofan was dumbstruck too. He liked to showboat and be all cocky, but all his acts were nothing in front of his son's high-class act. Power trumped everything. Who the hell would use their head when their fist was enough? Young Sanzi only looked dull in the head, but he saw through everyone, the real number one in Tianyu. And that Qilin shield even reflected such an attack. A soaring Qilin's mighty ability. Young Sanzi, your old man takes his hat off to you. The weak scheme, while the strong punch holes in their schemes. Wonderful, genius. Zhuofan sighed, giving Santong a thumbs up. Santong might have just been saying it, but it got him thinking. Zhuofan controlled the whole stage, with the imperial family and regent estate moving at his will. He was like a king. While it only showed just how weak he was, would a mighty tiger lay a trap for a weak little lamb? Obviously not. As the king of beasts, he'd eat anyone that popped in his vision. Why waste time thinking about it? Santong was the same, punching holes in any who stepped up, not wasting time with even martial arts. He was just that strong, pulverizing anyone with a snap. Zhuofan spoke honestly. Young Sanzi, I shall take this lesson to heart. Compared to you, your old man falls short. Santong scratched his head. Dad, are you praising me? Hee, you flatter me. You know, the uncle in all Beast Mountain Range is praising you as well. That I have much to learn from you, to not be so stubborn. No, it is I who should learn from you. I plot against others for interests alone, but those interests are ephemeral, hardly affecting my own person. While you, nothing chains you, and you can walk the path of the strong. Zhuofan sighed. Demonic cultivators are selfish. I used to think it refers to self-interest, or maybe being alone, but that may not be the case. I will have to simplify my demonic path, it seems. Zhuofan's heart achieved peace, like a new world had opened to him. Roar. The sudden noise wrestled him out of that marvelous state. Zhuofan shuddered, bursting with unbridled rage. For God's sake, I'm having an epiphany here. Can't you break it up a little here, please? He saw Huangpu Tianyuan bursting with green light, and his busted jaw was growing under the naked eye. It's that damn returning dragon's roar. Zhuofan shouted. Young Sanzi, this geezer can recover from anything, his body undying. Breaking a few bones won't work, you have to kill him. Santong was watching Huangpu Tianyuan flicking his tail in laughter. Santong, you may be strong, but you can't kill me. So how about we each go our own way and see each other in the future? Huangpu Tianyuan cupped his hands and fled. Future your head. Today is the day you die. Santong was not one to give up, shooting towards him and punching boom. Huangpu Tianyuan got buried underground again, into a 100-meter deep hole. His earth dragon head was bleeding, his mind hurting like hell, but he was still alive. Santong roared. I have crossed Tianyu for so many years and there's nothing alive that I can't kill. Humph worm, you will now witness the true face of a Qilin. Roar. Santong shone red for a moment before turning into a 30-meter red Qilin. He was back to his original form as a sacred beast, soaring Qilin. He was still young, but the power of the sacred beast radiated out. The entire mortal domain, its spiritual beasts, everything was cowering and wailing. Huangpu Tianyuan shouted. Santong, what move is this? Humph, this is no move, just my true form. Santong showed his sharp fangs. I am a sacred beast, and in this form I can display all my power. That punch of mine? That was only 30% of what I can do. Worm, one stomp will nail you dead. Santong trampled and Huangpu Tianyuan slammed into the ground. Boom. With the fall of the red hoof, the world shook and the earth caved 1,000 meters, then 10,000, soon stretching out for 9 kilometers, while the surrounding 100 miles shook harder than an earthquake. The landscape changed forever. Fang Qiubai's team were rushing over when they felt this impossible power. The shockwave was so great it was hard for even them to take it. What is going on out there? What caused such a power spike? Sima Hui cried. The other two shook their heads anyway. It's those two that are the cause of it for sure. We better take a look. Shadow King advised the two looked below. Gone were the green meadows and flourishing forest. Giving way for endless sands, the two monsters were these spies' main targets for observation. After Gu Santong's stomp, Zhuofan crawled out of some hole to watch the aftermath. Welp, that's the real soaring Qilin's leg for you. Albeit a cub, he could still break the world. Zhuofan admired a sacred beast's power even more. How else could they be on the same level as the 10 ancient emperors? What got him so envious, though, was that this power came naturally. It made him look like an ant, impossible to reach. Sigh, why wasn't I born as an awesome beast? Huh, worm. Let's see you come back from that. Gu Santong laughed and lifted his hoof from the broken and bloody Huangpu Tunyuan. Guts, gore, and blood spewed up from his mouth. What was even more amazing was that he was still alive, followed by a resplendent green glow. Still alive? Gu Santong was outraged. There's nothing I can't kill. Gu Santong stomped again, with all four this time. 1,000 miles around shook non-stop, with some volcanoes even erupting, but not even dozens of stomps could cut Huangpu Tinyuan's life string. No matter how twisted a mess he became, Gu Santong was fuming, but Zhuofan stopped him. Young Sanzi, it's no use. The Bodhi root is too strong, protecting his life. If you can't remove that returning dragon soul, it won't matter how much you stomp, it won't change anything. What do we do now? I want to kill him, but I can't. This has never happened in 300 years. I'm boiling mad. Gu Santong was getting pissy. Zhuofan snickered, his trademark evil grin getting back in business. Ha ha, easy. I got just the thing. And I am quite piqued by those 8 dragon souls as well. Purely academic, of course. Chapter 455. 9 Dragons Combined. Chapter 455. 9 Dragons Combined. Gu Santong was clueless, but Zhuofan propped his weak body over, his evil smile looking glorious on his face. The green glow had started by now, filling Huangpu Tinyuan's body with brimming vitality and healing him all over again. Ha ha ha, I am undying. You got nothing on me. Huangpu Tianyuan cackled. Gu Santong was raging again. Boom. Huangpu Tianyuan was stomped into the ground. His face twisted in pain so bad you couldn't even see his features. He may be undying, but not pain-free. Young Sanzi's trampling hurt like hell, not that he minded. He just felt good putting up a tough front in front of peak experts like Gu Santong and Zhuofan, seeing how they could do nothing to him, other than the excruciating pain. He felt peachy. Ha ha ha. You may have joined hands, but it doesn't mean squat. Huangpu Tianyuan smiled. Zhuofan grinned, taking one step at a time like climbing mountains. Hee, old codger, don't get ahead of yourself. 9 Dragons Diamond Body is but an Earth-ranked martial art, far from invincible. Your point? You still can't take me out either way. Unless you enter the ethereal stage and destroy my soul, nothing will work. Ha ha ha. Huangpu Tianyuan sneered, looking at them saying, take your best shot. I'll just sit here, waiting. Gu Santong was about to flip out, squeezing harder on the guy with the hoof, but Huangpu Tianyuan just toughed it out. Zhuofan still took slow steps over. He placed a bloody hand on the guy's head. Young Sanzi, hold him down good. Zhuofan warned. Gu Santong nodded. Huangpu Tianyuan mocked. Zhuofan, you're on the verge of collapse with no energy left. What could you possibly do? You couldn't even best me at your peak. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed, as did Zhuofan. Huangpu Tianyuan frowned. I'm mocking your weakness. Why are you laughing? I'm laughing at your ignorance. Zhuofan's eyes flashed with a black glow and his body released a black energy. The world is filled with countless arts and techniques. Do you think that Bodhi root has truly made your body undying? Humph. Feast your eyes on the real world. Even with your 9 Dragons Diamond Body, you'll still have a horrid death. Demon Transformation Art. The black energy flowed through his hand into Huangpu Tianyuan. The rock-solid earth dragon body was stained with pitch-black energy as it seeped into him, dissolving him. Despite how hard the dragon souls fought the invasion, especially the returning dragon soul, it turned black, as if poisoned. How come? Bodhi root was the essence of life, a panacea for all poisons. Fusing it with the dragon soul would make the returning dragon soul immune, as well not like he could tell this was no poison, but Zhuo Fan's Yuan Qi built through the demon transformation art could assimilate anything and everything, taking all that it had and leaving nothing but dregs. He was putting Huangpu Tianyuan through the same process, robbing him blind, dragon souls included. Zhuo Fan, what the hell are you doing? Huangpu Tianyuan lost his smug attitude. It even contained dread. Zhuo Fan just grinned. Hi. What? He asks. This. Zhuo Fan worked his art and took it all back now. Huangpu Tianyuan felt his power leaving, his Yuan Qi, his breath, even the dragon souls. Everything going into Zhuo Fan overwhelmed. Huangpu Tianyuan struggled to get away. With a monster above him, he was going nowhere fast though, made to endure this naked humiliation as the power ebbed from him. Roar. The wail of a dragon shook Zhuo Fan as a dragon soul entered his body. With the loss of one dragon soul, Huangpu Tianyuan's claw returned to normal. Panicking, Huangpu Tianyuan was horrified. He guessed what Zhuo Fan was doing, but the reality was just that much crueler, of how easy it all came to Zhuo Fan. He had refined them himself, through blood and sweat, yet they jumped ship like it was nothing. What demonic art is Zhuo Fan using to rob me? That dragon soul he got from Huangpu Qingtian was because his life faded away, but Huangpu Tianyuan was very much alive right now. Huangpu Tianyuan's heart was going a mile a minute, yet he did not have the time to mind the doubts, finding himself at death's door. Stop, I say. Humph, old Huangpu, you're so stuck up, so obnoxious. Where has all that attitude of yours gone? Zhuo Fan laughed. Huangpu Tianyuan felt like crying, fighting the process with all he had, to no avail. As the dragon souls left him, his body weakened, coming back to his human form. Roars came from Zhuo Fan this time, wrestling inside him for a way out. Huangpu Tianyuan grasped at his chance at victory. Ha, they aren't refined by you. You may have taken them, but they won't listen to anyone but me. Return them and I promise not to fight you again. We will split the world between us. Huangpu Tianyuan was at a disadvantage and started speaking terms. Zhuo Fan smiled. The world was mine to begin with. Why would I ever share it? Moreover, these earthworms, since I've pulled them out of you, do you think I can't tame them? Zhuo Fan's forehead revealed an azure flame, making the dragon souls fall back. Huangpu Tianyuan's eyes teared up. He had now lost even his bargaining chip. Zhuo Fan's tricks were that weird and insidious. Regent Estate had a hold of the dragon vein for 1,000 years, yet never could get the souls to submit. And Zhuo Fan just showed up and they'd behave like children? Sighing, Huangpu Tianyuan showed a powerless expression of remorse as he thinned out as the last dragon soul roared. Returning dragon soul entering Zhuo Fan, Huangpu Tianyuan became human again, stripped of all arrogance. In another hour, Huangpu Tianyuan turned to ashes. Lost in the wind, Gu Santong sneered at the empty ground and turned back to a child. He had no clue if Huangpu Tianyuan ever felt endless remorse at having messed with the father and son duo, that he dared pose before them. But, with the loss of the dragon souls, despair was all those old eyes showed. It was then that the old man lost his will to live as well. Dad, I never knew you had such a trick. Is that 9 Serenity's Emperor's master skill? You robbed the old guy of even his temper. Gu Santong smiled. Zhuo Fan cut him off. Young Sanzi, defend me while I unite the dragons. I'm breaking through. He sat cross-legged, eyes closed and cultivated. Gu Santong saw him rush and figured this had to be a rare chance for his old man. He stopped talking and was earnest in protecting him. 2 days went by, time in which Zhuo Fan's power grew, going 1 layer per day, reaching the 5th layer of profound heaven stage. And with this change his body healed as well. But Huangpu Tianyuan was a peak radiant stage expert, brimming with power. Whoosh. With a bang, a black chain shot for Zhuo Fan's skull. Gu Santong grabbed it. Who's there? Come out. Gu Santong, you are the imperial family's divine dragon, yet you collude with traitors of the empire? Did you forget the promise you made 300 years ago? As the black smoke twisted, Shadow King with Sima Hui and Fang Qiubai made their appearance, all while Zhuo Fan was calmly sitting there, ignoring the world around him. Chapter 456, The Ex-Best in the World. Chapter 456, The Ex-Best in the World. Gu Santong mocked. My promise refers to keeping imperial family alive for 1,000 years. It says nothing about dogs. I'll help if I feel like it. If not, no one can make me, humph. The three stared in shock. Check out the new big brain on the bugger. He figured out some loopholes. As to how, it didn't take them long to see that Zhuofan had something to do with it. These kinds of snappy and taunting remarks were more up Zhuofan's alley. The kid had no chance in figuring it all out by himself. The three-turned heavy Gu Santong was the strongest right now, but they couldn't just leave Zhuofan alone either. It would be unwise, to say the least, Shadow King said. Then keep your promise by destroying all of Imperial family's enemies. With Zhuofan being a national traitor, abusing his power, he is a threat to all of us. Be it as a divine dragon or just to keep your word, you must root him out, not protect him. Humph, to hell with your protection. A son looks after his old man. It's the most natural thing in the world. Sticking out his chin, Gu Santong giggled. Moreover, Dad has guaranteed that he'd leave the Imperial family alive. He wants power, not status. The trio gasped. Feng Chubai was astonished. Young Sanzi, what did you just call him? Right, you still don't know that he's my godfather. Just try touching one hair of him and I promise to break your bones one by one. Gu Santong had a savage smile. Feng Chubai was dumbstruck. A bad feeling creeping up on him. If Gu Santong only went to Zhuofan's side because of some fancy speech, they could still get him back on the straight and narrow path. Gu Santong had always been their strongest asset, but with this new relationship, like a family, they had no chance. What the hell did Zhuofan use to get the kid so eager to call him dad? Imperial family had been feeding the kid for centuries, yet nothing had worked to get him closer to them. Yet Zhuofan just came along and did it like nothing. The trio was speechless. When did it all start? But recalling the big war just a few days back, with Luo clan turning experts faster than flipping pancakes, the trio had to bow towards the master. Zhuofan was an expert when it came to manipulation while also making them have a hard time facing Gu Santong. Right about now, Gu Santong was the best in the world for a reason. Senior, should we make a tactical retreat? Young Sanzi and Zhuofan make for the worst enemies. It's best that we report to His Majesty first. Sima Hui proposed. Feng Chubai nodded. Finding it the best choice, Shadow King was somewhat angry and reticent. Gu Santong, I used to respect you as being a man of your word, a hero. I don't resent you even in the current situation. But I never thought you'd be so despicable and wretched. Going by Zhuofan's speech, big things are happening. Even if the Imperial family isn't overthrown, they'll end up as puppets. How is that any different from robbing their lands? Gu Santong, if there's still some decency left in you, you'd keep your promise and protect the Imperial family's lands. Do your duty and not resort to petty tricks like reading between the lines. It is not how a man of honor conducts himself. Shadow King shouted. Gu Santong found it odd. And who are you supposed to be? I don't know you. Your creepy look, it has nothing to do with me. Ha ha ha, Gu Santong, you don't need to know. I only hope that you'll fulfill your promise. Shadow King's tone was tragic, but firm. Gu Santong felt odd. The guy was speaking like an old friend, but he had never seen him in his life. With a wiggle of his nose, he got his answer. Shadow King's smell gave him a déjà vu. Who are you? Have we met? Gu Santong said. Shadow King flicked his chain at Zhuofan. Top profound ranked martial art, heart-piercing nebula chain. The chain split into 1,000 chains in a blink, all going after Zhuofan. The powerful aura being emanated turned everything to dust. Even the air was vibrating. Gu Santong blanked out, waking up when the chains reached Zhuofan. He jumped in between and punched. Boom. The 1,000 chains disintegrated, leaving a shimmering air around Gu Santong's trembling fist. Feng Chubai and Sima Hui looked at Shadow King stunned. With Gu Santong around, even together, the trio had no chance of harming Zhuofan. So why was Shadow King so persistent? Is he looking to be humiliated? Shadow King just stood in place, uncaring how easily his move was thwarted. He spoke again. Gu Santong, do you know me now? Gu Santong turned sad. You're still alive. I thought. Humph, alive. Shadow King mocked. Does this look alive to you? Gu Santong only had a look of sorrow. Shadow King spoke heavily. If not for your punch back then, being on the brink of entering ethereal stage, wouldn't have turned into a spirit puppet, into neither human nor shade. I am filled with rage every time I think about it. But I don't hate you, because you always kept your word to me. But now, I am still a man of my word. Gu Santong justified. No, you've just found a way around it, unprincipled. Shadow King snapped. Gu Santong staggered back. The other two were shocked to the core. Shadow King had been loyal to the imperial family since even before the two came to office as divine dragons, but never once knew of his history. His reprimands were the biggest clue. He was the one to trap Gu Santong in a promise 300 years ago. Gu Santong gasped, restless, to which Shadow King shouted, "Didn't your godfather teach you about loyalty and justice? Are you going to turn your back on them?" Gu Santong shook all over. His first godfather was his savior, teacher, and mentor. He would never forget. Anyone could call him a demon or a monster. He didn't care but to question his respect for his godfather. He could not accept. Shadow King found his words hitting something and showed a twisted smile among the black mist. The great Shadow King, the once best in Tianyu, the immemorial sage, comes back 3 centuries later to use some shoddy righteousness? Is this how a true man acts, deceiving children? Zhuo Fan sighed, opening his sharp eyes, looking down upon all creation with his overbearing power. He snapped his eyes on that shadow. Before speaking of promises, shouldn't you straighten yourself first? Zhuo Fan. Shadow King gnashed his teeth. You rotten bastard. I don't know what fancy words you've used to deceive Gu Santong, but his first godfather was a scholar, a man of principle who taught his children virtue and honor. Unlike you, who leads him astray. Gu Santong, ask yourself, did your first godfather earn your respect and love? Or is this despicable and vile thing is who you value more? Shadow King asked, putting Gu Santong on the spot. Shadow King was more than clear about his game. To strike at Gu Santong's heart by putting his 2 godfathers on a scale. Zhuo Fan walked in front of Gu Santong, rubbing his head, with a bright smile and speaking platitudes, be it your former righteous and honorable godfather, or the current despicable and repulsive one, we each have our own paths. But one thing we have in common is our love for our young Sanzi, which will never change. Gu Santong showed a bright smile. You sneaky little devil. Shadow King's cheek twitched in outrage.